Hey there, hi everyone. Okay, welcome to MixStream episode 13, and it's been quite a while since the last time that I've done any of these live stream shows, right? I've been pretty busy the past 2 months or so. I've been doing the Direct Access 1.0 music production workshop that has been going on, right, during the month of September and October, right? So there was a 6-week long program, right? The workshop is something that I do almost every year, right? And it's a kind of a special event, right, on the ground. So that took place from September all the way until middle of October. Okay, so by the way, the videos to the workshop, okay, this time I'm making it a little bit special. Okay, previously it's only usually an on-ground event. I only do it either here in my studio, and then only the participants, the students, get to enjoy, participate in it. But this time around, okay, it's gonna be something special. I am gonna be putting out all the videos online. What we did is we recorded all the sessions, all the classroom and lecture sessions, all the recording sessions, the recording demos, the tutorials and everything, right? Even with the live mixing and a mastering session as well. All that's recorded, and it's going to be up on this YouTube channel, right, very soon, okay? So speaking of the YouTube channel, right, if you're watching this, welcome, okay? If you are brand new to the channel, right, I will give you a really, really warm welcome as well. And if you haven't done so, okay, head on down somewhere there. Okay, I think it's here, right? Okay, head on down. You should be able to see the subscribe button. Please click on the subscribe button, okay? All right, so that would really help the channel out. Don't forget also click on the notification bell so that you'll be informed, right? You'll be informed and you'll be updated every time I put out a new video, okay? So usually, as I mentioned, right, usually Fridays I will do this MixStream, right, which will be a live stream session. If I don't do that, usually I will still have some kind of I will have a live Q&A, right? The Ask Me Anything session, for example. Oops, I accidentally pressed play over there, okay? And now, speaking of which of MixStream, right, this week's episode is featuring a very good friend of mine, okay? He is a talented rapper and MC, a songwriter, producer, arranger, right, in his own right, okay? And his name is Dedeq, okay? And I'll be mixing the brand new single. Right, this song is titled Mine, okay? Now, as you can hear, this is a reggaeton track. In fact, if you want to check it out, right, Dedeq also wrote and co-produced, right, Alvin Chong's brand new and latest single, right, which was released just a couple of months ago, right? Sayangku Salma, right? So the title of that track, I think it's a big hit song. It's like it went around on TikTok and all that. I don't know, right? TikTok's not my thing. Okay, right? Maybe some of the younger kids and the fans, right, of Alvin Chong, right, probably dig it. But the video is do check out that video, right? That was written, composed, and produced by Dedeq, right? And the vocals were recorded here. And fun fact, okay, I also played the guitars on that song, okay? So do check it out. I will leave the link, right? The link is probably not here, but if you watch this on a replay, okay, I'll leave a link, right, to that video somewhere around. It'll be floating around the corner or in the description, lah. Okay, so now, so this is the brand new single from Dedeq. By the way, okay, one thing if you notice, if you look at the text above, okay, MixStream is a form of it's something that I started because of this whole MCO, and now we are in this kind of a second or third, I guess will be a second time or second phase of a lockdown considered under CMCO. Cases are really high now. I think today we've just recorded with 1,700 cases. I hope you all are really staying safe, okay? Do take care of yourself, okay? Wash your hands, take care of your hygiene, practice your social distancing and all that, okay? Now, MixStream here is something that I wanted to do to sort of showcase and highlight, right, all the awesome music that's being produced here in Malaysia, right? So I work with either everyone from bands, from solo artists, from groups and all of that. You can also head on down, right? If you're in the channel, go and check out my channel, right? The playlists, right? Under the MixStream playlist, you can see, right? I've done almost like, this is the 13th one. I've done like 12 so far, okay? So what happens is that if you want to help to support, right, the artists, okay, right, in this case you want to help to support the featured artist, then what you can do is you can sign up to become a patron, okay? So a patron, right, a patron subscription can be done at this website, which is up here, and the link up here, www.patreon.com/studio2105. Now, when you sign up, just drop me a message with the code MixStream13. And what happens is that, right, from your pledge, okay, from your subscription, right, 50% of the revenue will go towards the featured artist, okay? So head on to the website. You can study. There are several tiers, right? You can join a tier for as low as $1 a month, okay? So $1, that's about 4 ringgit a month, okay? So there is like the basic level, there is the direct access level. So we got about 3 or 4 tiers, right? All the way until VIP access, okay? Now, if you go all the way to VIP access, right? Now, VIP access is very special and they get a lot of special perks and benefits. For instance, one-on-one mentoring and tutorial sessions. Okay, so for instance, all right, if we're doing any kind of a mixing tutorial or recording tutorial, this is a one-on-one thing, all right? So I will one-on-one with you either on Zoom or Skype or whatever kind of a video chat lah. Okay, anything we relate to that, we do usually on a one-on-one basis. Okay, you get exclusive content. You always get early notification, right? Of any kind of polls or any kind of decisions or voting, right? VIP and the patrons will get, okay, the voting rights. And not only that, you also get discount codes. Wow, discount codes which you can use towards any of the studio services here, okay, in Studio 2105. So now that business side out of the way, right? So do consider, if you want to support, alright, head on down to the Patreon page and become a patron, okay? Now, not necessarily when you're watching this on the live stream. You could be watching this in the replay later on. Okay, you can always do so. Now, if you are here in the chat, okay, there's a live chat going on. So if you're watching this, please do say hi. Leave your say hi in the chat session so that you let me know that you're there. Okay. All right. We are also very fortunate that Dedeq is actually joining us in the live chat as well. So if you have any questions, okay, if you have any questions that you want to ask Dedeq or something like that, please feel free to do so, right? Because while I'm doing the mixing, I may not be able to watch the and check the chat, the live chat that's going on. So I'll just check it from time to time, right? So if you have any questions you want to ask him about, you know, the projects that he's done, right? You know, when you will find out more about behind the scenes of what's happened with his previous songs and all that, please feel free to leave the chat, okay? To say hi and leave your questions down in the chat. So now let's start. First thing, let's the tracks. I've gotten all the tracks from Dedeq, so you can see here. Okay, this is a reggaeton track, so we got all the drums, lots of percussion, lots of drums, lots of percussion, because right, reggaeton is a very rhythmic, right? It's driven by the drum beat. We got a bass, we got some keyboards, some keyboard samples, and vocal. Okay, so instrumentation-wise, it's actually fairly simple, and that's great because it gives a lot of space for all the vocal parts to actually shine, right? It gives space for the beat, okay? It gives space for the sample, and it gives space for the vocal as well. So first things first, okay, what I've done before prior to this is I already set this as a kind of a rough mix. So first thing, as we always do when we pull up and we start mixing, let's listen to the whole track as a whole. Okay, so now here's a rough mix of the song. Let's take a listen, all right? And if you're in the chat, okay, please say hi. Okay, I'll join you guys, and let's listen to the rough mix.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yang selalu di mindaku, cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur, mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata, kau di dekatku selalu ada. Dampingiku untuk selama-lamanya, temaniku sampai ke hujung dunia. Apabila sedang aku di dalam dirimu, katakanlah saja apa-apa maumu, dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru.
Nice breakdown in the chorus.
Sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Memiliki kamu bukan untuk sementara, hasrat ini ingin bersama lebih lama. Jika hanya bisa lebih dari yang biasa, pasti ku mau cerita tiada akhirnya. Sungguh aku tak main-main, aku tak seperti yang lain-lain. Tiada lagi itu kah, inikah saja apa-apa maumu, dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Aku takkan main-main.
Here's the hook section.
Takkan main-main. Aku bukan main-main.
Last chorus.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Outro.
Main-main. Takkan main-main. Takkan main-main.
Cool.
Aku bukan main-main.
All right, man. This is an awesome, awesome club banger, man. Okay, I think Dedeq really knocked it out of the park with this track, lah. Okay, so really, 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 really fat beat. Okay, now, so that's the rough mix of the song. Okay, what we're gonna do now? Let's head on down to the mixing as well. Now, you can watch here. As you can see, this is actually my template. Okay, so my template with my master bus and my bus processing and all that, especially here in my stereo bus processing. Now I won't be describing it too much, okay, because what I've done is I've actually have this video. Okay, I've already done a video about my Cubase project template. So right, if you want to find out more, okay, about my project template, how I lay out all this stuff, do check out that video. Okay, I will post a link up, all right, to that video in the description, so check it out. So first things first, okay, now let's start with, of course, right, with this kind of beat, with reggaeton, right, we are definitely doing, right, we are definitely starting off with the beat first of all. That's very important. So let's mute everything else. Let's mute all the instruments, the bass, the keys, the samples, all the vocals, all the backing vocals as well, all the BVs. So let's start. Now, for those of you know, when I mix, let's very, very important, let's start with getting the initial levels first, okay? Right, we want to set a good gain structure. So how do I do that? Let's start by you going with the kick drum. Okay, wow, okay, I've not done this in a while, so I'm trying to navigate back, you know, my window layout here. Usually when I work with a dual screen, right? So instead of that, but I have the mixer window down here, right? So it's easier for you guys when you're watching lah. Okay, cool. So first things first. Now, as again we have watched my previous episodes, you will know that I always employ, right, the console emulation and the tape emulation plugins. Okay, now the only thing that's different for hip hop stuff, I will actually typically, instead of going for usually what I do is I use the API console model. Okay, that's most of the time, right? I always do that. But when it comes to hip hop, I usually prefer the SSL 4000, right? So SSL 4K, I will go with the E model. All right, let's go with the E model drums. So here we go. Right. Okay, so now to set the levels, initial level, right, so that I know that later on in the mix, right, I have enough sufficient headroom and my signal level is healthy enough, or my overall mix level is healthy enough. I do that. That's very simple. Let's set it by, right, setting the kick drum level. So what I'm trying to look out for, okay, is I want to get the kick so that my kick will peak at about -12. Okay, I'll try to get this about -12. So let me bring this over here, so hopefully you can see it. Oh, you can't see it because now it gets hidden behind the window. Okay, never mind. Okay, now I can see the master, but you guys can't. All right, let's do this very quickly. So kick drum, let's just set it here. Okay, that's about -13. Right, sweet, right there. That's a sweet spot. Okay, so I have it at about -14. Now, okay, with a lot of hip hop and with a lot of reggaeton, actually, a lot of stuff, especially with the samples that's being chosen by the producer, right, by the songwriter or by the producer, a lot of the time it's really not so much about sculpting or drastically changing. Most of the time, the producers have already picked, right, the kick drum samples, the samples that they use, whatever it is, they've already carefully, they spend a lot of time picking the sound that they want. So with a lot of hip hop stuff, okay, a lot of hip hop material when we mix, it's just a matter of actually just balancing, right? Just balancing it, because look, those are the sounds, and most of the samples that have already been selected already sound pretty good, okay? They sound really great, they sound really nice. There's really no need for me to, okay, especially for this kind of a kick drum sample, to be applying compression to it and all that, right? I would rather not, okay? I would rather just leave it there. But anyway, let's take a quick listen first, all right? So already kind of running it through the tape and also the console emulation. Okay, this is I have the setting on the SSL 4000E setting. It's already giving it a little bit, a nice bit of compression, right? A little bit nice saturation already. That's really not much that needs to be done, okay? So let's take a look. Okay, now here we go. So that's the kick. Okay, cry, cook. Now, in reggaeton, what is the highlight of reggaeton? Okay, right. The foundation of reggaeton is something that we refer to as the Dembow Loop. And what's a Dembow Loop? For those of you who don't know, this is what it is, right? It is instantly identifiable as the reggaeton sound, okay? Here we go. Now, different loops, different Dembow loops, maybe use slightly different kicks, slightly different snare samples, but in general, this is what it is, okay? It's unmistakable. Okay, so that's a Dembow loop, right? So that is the foundation of all reggaeton, right? It's using that loop and that pattern. Instantly, it's recognizable. We all know how it sounds like. So now, depending on the song and depending on the production, sometimes, right, the loop may be a little bit more upfront, and then the rest of the samples, right, may be holding it down. Or sometimes it's the other way around. Maybe sometimes the Dembow loop kind of plays a more supporting role. Let's play around with it and see, okay? I kind of roughly have this kind of balance. So I'm going to pretty much kind of build the beat around the Dembow loop, okay? So a couple of things first. Let's just get a blend, okay, between the two. Great, nice. Okay, let me just solo the Dembow loop for a little bit. Try and listen to the kick drum of the loop. Okay, let's listen to that again. Yeah, what I'm trying to listen here is I want to listen to the center frequency of the different kick drum, because in the loop you also have a kick, but there is also the sample kick, right? That's in the beat. I want to see where they kind of lie, right? So, okay, let's do a comparison here. Okay, now, so the kick, right, is tuned a little bit lower. It has a slightly lower fundamental frequency. So that's fine. So as long as you're not really clashing with each other. But what I want to check now is, let's try flipping the polarity on the Dembow loop, and let's see whether do we get a better result or not. Okay, let's listen to it. what happened when I inverted the polarity? What happened when I inverted the polarity is, what happens is that, you know, I get a little bit of phase cancellation, so a little bit of that body, all right, of the low end gets cancelled out. But let's listen to it again, all right? So this is without, this is normal, regular. Nice. So the kick is really solid. But when I invert the polarity, it gets a little bit hollowed out, okay? It gets a bit of a scooped kind of a sound. So, I mean, if in certain styles, maybe it will work, okay? But because this is, you know, with reggaeton, with hip-hop, because it's really sparse already, I don't think I need to really make space for it. So both of these can sort of, I would rather have both of them support and reinforce each other lah, instead of having that cancellation. So let's just plunk it in there, right? There we go. Nice. Okay. Now let me just fine tune the Dembow Loop a little bit. Now, this frequency at about 820 here does ring a little bit, but again, for those who know, who watch me when I mix, I always say we set and we don't forget. Let's just do this little cut here first, and let's see whether it actually interferes with everything else on. Because, right, bear in mind I have not inserted the snares, inserted all the rest of the samples first. Okay, let's listen to it and see whether it helps. Okay, let's just set it there first. To me, it cleans it up slightly, but again, at this initial stage, when there's so little going on, which is just a kick and the loop, it's hard to tell, okay? So, very quickly, let's move on to the next one, all right? So, by the way, all of these, the loop, the kick, and everything is all being bussed to my drum group, okay? So, everything is going to be bussed to that group. And you see later on, I will add a bit of compression there. So, let's repeat with the next thing. So, this is snare 1. Okay, let's check out snare 1. Okay, yeah. So this one has got a fair amount of body to it. So same thing, let's load up the SSL 4K. Now, probably don't need everything below 100 here. Okay, a bit of this resin. That's about 900, okay? Now, just a tiny touch. Let's go back to the beginning of the... Okay, let's do the same thing. Let's check the polarity, okay? Okay, right. It's fine either way, alright? So it's not being affected that much lah. Okay, that's with snare 1. Let's go with snare 2. So snare 2 is another sample which is sitting underneath it. Okay, right. So snare 2, right, is more of the upbeats. Ta 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 ta. Okay, it's going more on the upbeats. So I reckon I would want to just roll off a little bit of the low end from that, okay? Okay, now this one sounds like it's a little bit saturated somehow. Okay, and it's because of this, because it is saturating a little bit. Let me try and reduce the drive on the FG73, right? This is a emulation of the Neve 1073 preamp. Let me try and clean it up and see, okay? Let's bring it down. Okay, instantly I think it's better, right? Now, I think most of the time, right, with reggaeton, with hip-hop stuff, unless, you know, I think with reggaeton, anything a little bit more commercial, right, the beats tend to be more towards the cleanish side. Now, if I'm going something a little bit more aggressive, you know, maybe, you know, something with trap, you know, or that kind of a rap, maybe I'll go with something a little bit more saturated, right? Something a little bit more distorted and dirty, lah, right? But this is pop, this is clean, right? Let's try and keep it clean, okay? Okay, so I reckon this would probably need a little bit of brightening. Let's just brighten this snare up a little bit. So let me pull up the FGA. Okay, this is the API EQ. Let's put the filter on. Let's bump up 5K and see. It's quite a bit. Bypass. See, it's a bit dull. This is brighter. Okay, and this is really dark, okay? Now, let's listen in context and see, right? Very important, okay? Always listen in context. Let's bypass the EQ. Yeah, all right. Definitely, okay? In this case, the snare too definitely needs to be brightened up a little bit, right? Otherwise, it just sounds too muffled behind the rest of the beat. Okay, let's go. Now, this would be... Let me jump ahead first, because in this section, we are only dealing with this first pattern. So let's go with shaker. Let's jump ahead. Let's check it out. Same thing, load the same sample. Cool. Very cool pattern. Yeah, I like that little triplet thing that it does, though, you know, in between. Let's listen to the... That one, okay? That sounds like roto drums or something like that, okay? Right, okay? Hey, alright, by the way, concurrent viewers, alright, if you are there watching this, please do say hi in the chat session, okay? Join down, head on down to the chat session and say hi there, okay? Alright, let me know that you are there, okay? Because I can see here, I can see that the number of viewers are there, but you guys are not saying hi in the chat, okay? Please do, okay? I really love to hear from you. Okay, so now back to this thing. I think I would like to really bring out the detail in that, and I have some of my secret weapons which I love to use for that. Okay, that would be the Waves MV2. Okay, you probably, if you watch all my previous episodes, you will know how much I love this plugin, okay? Because it's super wonderful. It brings out detail, it brings out, right, all the energy right from the track without having to affect the main transient. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here. Let's check out this shaker loop again. Just give it more energy. Yeah, especially that little triplet, you know? Okay, let's okay. Listen to that. There we go. Nice. Okay, let me try and set a like a loop with round with the round numbers. Okay, 6 to 10, 10 to 14. Okay, let's loop this. Let's bring in all the rest of the elements. Let's go ahead, right? Let's go with bongo. Okay, you don't need all that low end on the bongo. I can hear it saturating. Yeah, okay, same thing. Okay, I can hear it saturating. Let's keep it a bit clean lah. All right. Okay, it's got a bit of that resonance. 394. Just to cut that frequency out. I think it needs a bit of brightening as well, this bongo, okay? Actually, hang on, before I do that, all right, before I catch myself first, let me check my stereo bus. Do I have all this on? Okay, yes, I do, all right? So, I have my, all these, my Masterbuss Processing on. So I just needed to double check, make sure that I had this on. Because if I didn't have it on, and then when I switch it on later, it would drastically change the tone. So I have to make sure that I have this, all of these on first, okay? Now, some people refer this as a top-down kind of a mixing, right? For me, it's like I'm kind of mixing into all these, into my Masterbuss processing, my plugins there. Now, there's no compression happening yet, right? All the compression on my master is being bypassed. All I'm doing is I'm just passing it through, you know, an EQ or a multiband, which, again, these are all not doing anything yet, right? Except for a little bit touch of the virtual tape machines at the very, very end of the chain. Later on, I'll be adding a little bit more secret sauce to it lah, but these ones I usually add it at a later stage. Okay, back to that. So bongo needs a little bit of brightening. Okay, I'm just going to use the custom series EQ just to brighten it a touch. Just like 1.5, okay? Right. So on the custom series EQs, these are not, if I'm not mistaken, these are actually not, are they dB values? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. These are actually not dB values. So it's actually just a numerical, arbitrary numerical value that is set there, okay? Because they want you to use your ears while you're mixing this. So just a tiny touch of top end over here just to bring it a little bit forward, okay? So that's the bongo. And we have the djembe. I have the djembe on the right. Okay, I don't need the super bottom end of the djembe over here, so let's roll off everything from like 200 below. No EQ needed. I think that's perfectly fine, right? So let's go with the timbales. Ooh, that's good. Okay, this one same thing. Let's just roll up the bottom at 100. Okay, let's go back to timbale. Okay, it's got a bit at 660, but again, let's just leave it in there, okay? Because we might not need to remove it, okay? So let's do a little bit of a cut here. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's just leave it flat first, all right? Because it sounds great, man. It sounds great on its own already. Okay, now, What I feel now is that I feel like I need to give it a little bit of depth, a little bit of room to the beats, right? Because now everything seems to be a little bit front. I want to give some of it a little bit of a front back, okay? And the easiest way to do that is by giving a little bit of reverb, okay? So let me go to, let's check this little snare first. Okay, so what I have here, this will be reverence, okay? So Reverence, all right, comes bundled with Cubase Pro. So Reverence is actually a convolution reverb. So what it does is that it uses impulse responses, right? So IRs, okay, right? So you know we hear IRs nowadays, right? And in context of guitar cabinets, guitar amps, and all that. But you know, one of the earlier users of impulse responses, right, in audio in mixing has actually been got to do with reverbs, okay? Because that's basically it. IRs are something that you know, it's a technique where you can model the characteristics of any sort of a device, any kind of output equipment, or even the characteristics of a space, right? So if you know fire an impulse, okay, usually it's a white noise impulse. You fire an impulse, right? Take a speaker, you fire an impulse into a room, for example, a hall, a concert hall, and then you capture that impulse with very, very high precision microphones. You get this, okay? You get this impulse response. So using that, right, the reverb, the algorithm will process that and apply that. So it's automatically as if you got the room, okay, for that. So what I've done here, this is actually a preset called LA Studio. Very useful. This, you know, this is actually just gives you an idea of, let's say, a very nice, good sounding recording studio. So this gives you like if you are inside the room. So there is a little bit of a room there. Okay, so let's just add a tiny touch of this, right, to most of the drums, and let's see. Okay, let's solo this. Tiny touch. I just want to hear a little bit, right? Just minimum. So when, in fact, when you kind of play back with the entire track, you can't really hear it. Okay? Because you just want that tiny touch. You don't want it to be too wet either, okay? Too wet, then it'll be too, you know, it'll be too drenched in reverb. We don't want that, okay? Oh, we have to unsolo and solo it first. Okay. Let's check it again. Right, okay. So what I'm hearing from this reverb, okay, is I'm hearing a little bit of some ringing there. And that's the thing with reverbs, you have to be very careful. With reverbs also, you must also, all right, make sure that you EQ it. So let's check out, this is the reverb, the EQ for the reverb. So I'm getting this one. At about 1K, this frequency is ringing. So let's... Yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of that high frequency. At about here, about 5K, I think. It's closer to 6. Okay, it's probably not too much, but let's listen in context. Okay, great. Let's add a little bit more to the rest. Let's add a tiny touch to the shakers. Shakers, maybe a little bit more. Maybe this one can be a little bit wetter. Okay, let's listen. Yeah, the shakers can afford a little bit more, okay? This bongo as well, I think could use a little bit tiny touch, okay, just to give it a bit more depth. Yeah, otherwise this is fairly dry sounding, you see. Okay, so let's play that again a bit more. Okay, I'm hearing one more thing that's ringing, okay? Let me look for it. There you go, this one. 976 hertz. Yeah, that's better. Okay, because what it does is that it kind of triggers when you can hear it when the reverb tail, right? So I kind of know that that frequency is there lah. Okay, so let's bring that. So this is all going to be very subtle. It just gives all of these instruments a little bit more of a front to a back kind of perspective. Okay, where's the djembe? This is fine, the djembe one sounds good. Okay, timbales. Okay, again, I think I want to make this timbales a little bit more exciting. Maybe this one. Let's see, what if we actually saturate this? Okay, no, that's too distorted. Yeah, my default setting is just fine now, okay? Because once you saturate it too much, then it trims away, it chops off the transient of the timbales, and you lose the impact. A tiny touch of brightening, I think, maybe a little bit. So let me put this custom EQ, just a tiny bit. Okay. Now, actually, I'm hearing a lot of these ghost notes as well. So yeah, I'm going to pull up MV2 again, right? So this will really help to bring out some of these lower level details without touching, because I don't want it to, you know, to affect, because if you apply a normal compressor, yes, it will bring up all the lower level stuff, but it does so by, you know, sort of killing away some of the louder transients, but I don't want it to touch the transients at all. Okay, now granted, you can of course, right, use a compressor to dial in, you know, adjust the attack time and all that, but trust me, the MV2 is really, you know, a favorite of a lot of engineers now, because it solves this problem, right, so easily, right? It does it so well. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, it's clipping a little bit. Let's bring this down by 1.5 dB, 2 dB lah, might as well, no worries. Yeah, so all those subtle, more quieter ghost notes, it will come up a little bit more, okay? So let's listen to it. Timbales! Okay, touch of reverb on the timbales as well. Okay, can be a little bit more. So the percussions, right, I put a little bit more reverb on that compared to the kick and the snare, right, of the main beat. And obviously the loop, I leave it untouched, okay? So the percussions, right, can occupy a little bit more space that way. So there's a little timbale feel. Let's check it out, right? How does this timbale feel sound like? Okay, cool. This is like, you know, quite a classic sample to it. It sounds like it's already a little bit distorted, which is interesting. Which is a little bit interesting, okay? Listen to it. Very cool. Very, very cool, right? So it sounds like that. So let's just dirty it up a little bit more. So, right, this kind of feels, right, helps to highlight, right, every time it's going into a different section. So this one happens at the beginning of a chorus. So let's listen to it. Interesting. Okay, I think it needs a bit bottom end. Let's try to see whether we can give it a bit of a bottom end. All right. Okay, where is that sample? Oh, there. I looped the wrong section. Here we go. Yeah, just a bit more bottom end. Okay, let me ease up on the. Okay, let me ease up on the on the drive on the preamp lah. Okay, because it sounds already like going through kind of a distorted thing by itself. Nice. Now it's got a bit of reverb built into the beat, but let me just add a little bit more and see. Let's see what happens. Right, okay, so for me, I want to extend that tail a little bit, so that's why I, add a little bit of reverb even on that as well, okay? I am hearing something, but I think it's something that I need to deal with in the timbale fill track itself. Right, okay. Now, I do suggest that you watch and listen to this, right, either on headphones or, a good pair of speakers. If you're watching this on a mobile device, you're not going to hear a lot of the details, okay? So, very, very quickly, let's see. Oh, hey, there's a lot of other guys in the chat already, right? Okay. So, Ben Vincent. Hi, Ben. Right. Thanks for joining in the live stream, man. And Zach, hi Zach, Zachary, all right. Thanks for joining in, man. Good to see you. It's been a while, all right. Jurgen, Mr. Jurgen, hi Jurgen. Okay, very, very cool. Thanks for joining. And Zechariah, hey, awesome, man. By the way, right, if you have any questions, right, anything, right, let's see what are the comments. Ben Vincent said that MV2 is cool. Yes, and Dedeq also said, yes, Waves MV2 is very good to have. So, yeah, MV2, man, I can't sing enough praises, right? Use it on so many things, on bass, on vocals, on a guitar. It's really one of the, definitely not my top 5. It could even be the top 3 favorite plugins that I use, okay? So, that's the timbales, okay, and let's move on, okay? Let's check out. Let's check out the timbale fill 2. Is it something similar or something different? Okay, right, this is something a little bit different. Okay, so let's do this. It's a slightly different processing. Okay. Let's listen to it. Nice, okay, so this punctuates. Okay, I might actually need to put the timbale fill a little louder, okay, where we listen in context first, because let's listen to that. Okay, now, might be a little bit loud now, but let's see how it sounds with the rest. Okay, so now, that's most of the drums. Okay, now, in mixing, as I said, right, it's a set, and don't forget, so you will see that I will sometimes jump, okay, from section to section, right, because this is the chorus first, so I want to kind of set the overall sound for the chorus, because again, the chorus is going to be the main part of the song, man. That's where the hook is, that's where the chorus melody is, that's the part which is the most memorable part of the song. So it's important to focus on that. So you see snare 3 and snare 4, these happen right towards the verses. I'll skip that first, right? Let's focus on making the chorus sound great, okay? So, right, let's skip all the effect stuff, okay? Right? I'll usually leave those stuff for the end. And let's go on to the bass. Okay, bass, the final frontier. Okay, here we go. So same thing, let's load up this guy. Now with the bass, I would kind of roll off beat 20, okay? So my bass track, right? So even though it's one channel, okay, right, what I will do is I will still route it to a group, okay? So I'm routing it to this group over here. So let's take a look what I have in the group, right? A couple of things. First thing I have, right, is I have Wave C4. So C4 is a multi-band compressor. Okay, but what I have here, right, is that this is only, right, a multi-band compressor. It splits the audio into several different bands of audio, okay? So in this case, a C4 splits it into 4 different bands. But what I'm going to be working on and doing, right, is I'm only going to be, right, working on the low band. So in this case, this is about 180 hertz and below. So what this does is that it helps to control the lows, all the real bottom end that's coming from the bass, okay? So right, running it through this C4, I find it helps. It helps to, once I kind of control the lows, then whatever subsequent processing that I apply, you know, I will be a bit more compression later on, okay? The overall compression won't have to work so hard, right? So it becomes more of, you know, I'll be using the rest of the compression for the tone. So instead of trying to work so hard trying to control the dynamics. So that's what this Wave C4 is doing. So let's just blend in the bass. Okay, so this is a very, very subby bass actually. So what I reckon is that I have to sort of think. I'm thinking now, the first thing that strikes to my mind is because it's a very subby bass, it kind of feels that it's more of a bass that just needs to kind of just sit below the mix, right? Now, because bass you have to decide, right? And you have to decide whether you want the bass to be something that's upfront, okay, or you want the bass to be something that sits below the kick drum. So my initial gut feeling is to go with that, okay, just to have it sit underneath. Now, if I wanted to make it cut through, for this one, I will have to, you know, EQ. I have to add quite a little bit of saturation. Probably don't, right? Because again, as I said, with hip hop, with reggaeton, with most of these styles, pretty much the samples and the sounds already been chosen by the producer or by the arranger. In this case, the artist, right? Because Dedeq also wrote, he produced, he arranged the beat, everything that he done in here, recording, he did it himself. You see? Okay, so let's check it out. All right. Okay. Right, let's see. Okay, now I will get to your questions in the if you have any questions, I'll get to it, right, in the chat, okay, because I see that there's some questions here. Okay, so really good, I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's hit it down. Okay, it's very, very subby, more of a synth bass kind of a sound. Let's just solo it. A lot of low end. Now let's try and see what happens if I saturate it on the virtual drive. It's voila. Okay, this is again is why the virtual channel and the Brit 73 and these console and preamp emulations are so great, because you can instantly get a little bit of saturation out of it. Okay, now this will help, I think it will help the note, the 808 bass note, to cut through a little bit, because when it's very subby, you can't really hear the harmonics, okay? You hear more of the fundamental. So this helps to bring out the harmonics a little bit more. So we got to be careful not to overdo it, because if you overdo it, it starts becoming distorted. So now maybe this is something that, you know, again, Later on in mixing, right, by the end of this session, right, I will have usually what I call the first draft of the mix, lah, right? So when I have the first draft ready, I'll usually go back, take a listen, or very often, right, if like in instance with Dedeq, I work with him so much, right? We work together on so many stuff before that. Maybe I will give him a call. Maybe I will consult, a little bit. I'll let him take a listen to this, and then we'll see where we need to go. Okay. So again, it's all about set. You set, but don't forget. Don't forget what you've done previously, because you want to be aware of, how one element always affects the other. So let's just have a tiny bit of this preamp saturation just to bring out the harmonics. Okay. So let's see how it was sit. Okay. Now, again, the temptation of putting all this, it sounds cool on its own, but I'm just worried that it might step onto the rest of the song, okay? So let's just listen to it. Okay, very cool. Let's look at the C4. Okay, very nice. Okay, so right, so the C4 here just helps to control the bottom end, so that my next thing does not have to work too hard. Okay, now what I have here, this EQ is called a Surfer EQ2. Now this is called EQ2 Boogie Focusrite Edition, because this is actually a light edition. This the actual full featured plugin has got many more bands, but what's cool about the Surfer EQ2, okay, is that this is an intelligent EQ. What it does is that, right, this middle green here, right, it can track the fundamental, it can track the actual frequency in real time of the note. Okay, so let me just play it for you and then you'll see what happens. Okay, okay, look at this, and it's tracking the note G, very nice. Okay, now, so this is really, really useful in some situations and circumstances, but I feel like in this case, we don't really need it, right? So I'm going to skip this. Now, maybe I'll just very briefly explain lah. I would think, let's say, if I'm doing this on an electric bass that's being played by a bass guitar, so sometimes, because on a string instrument, you get sometimes the harmonics. See, there's sometimes either the third, the fourth, or fifth harmonic or something like that. And these are usually, right, or sometimes you get, and usually these harmonics are like intervals towards the root note. So sometimes, when you play a guitar, when you play a bass guitar, you play a C note, boom. But sometimes you can hear a harmonic, the G, which is the fifth above, right? C, D, E, F, G, the perfect fifth above. So sometimes you want to hear that, right? Because it helps to bring a little bit of the harmonic richness information of the bass. But sometimes if you want to, but sometimes if that's too much, right? You want to dip it down. So the intelligent EQ is cool because you can change, for example, if you want it to track the second harmonic here, meaning it's the octave above the root lah. Okay, so if the root is, let's say the root here is 37, right? The D, the note D, when you go up to one octave above, it's 74 hertz, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are all multiples, right? So third harmonic, you get 110 hertz, which is a note A, okay? Fourth harmonic, go on, so on and so forth, you get 147, so on and so forth, lah, okay? So doing this with the intelligent EQ, like a Surfer EQ, is that it will automatically track the note and it will follow accordingly. Right? It's so powerful because you can't do this with a regular static normal EQ, okay? Because if you just do a cut, right, it's a static EQ and it just stays there at that frequency. So this, you can check it out. This was actually a free, this is free if you are a Focusrite user, if you own any sort of a Focusrite, or I think even if Novation, because they're under the same company, all right, Focusrite product. All right, if you own a Focusrite product, you go to their account, you sign up for it. Right, it should be somewhere in your account, the downloads, right, for the users lah. Okay, so you can check it out. But in this case, I'm not going to use it, right, because in this kind of a synth-based situation. Okay, right. Okay, now next thing. All right, I love doing this. Okay, so this one, next thing I'm running it through is I'm running it through a 1176. This is the universal audio version. This is the 1176 revision A, or the blue stripe. Okay, so blue stripe is a little bit more it's the older version. It's the revision A. Now in contrast with, let's say, the LN or the revision E, I think that's revision E, right? Or D, I can't remember. They have so many revisions, okay? So A is like the older version. So the older one is slightly dirtier, it's slightly grittier sounding, whereas the newer and later revisions are a lot cleaner, okay? So now let's activate this. Now, as I mentioned, like, I'm going to be slamming this pretty hard, I think, okay? Let's see what happens, okay? So bypass. I love how actually all this little saturation and compression is actually rounding off the transients with the bass a little bit. Let me take a quick look and zoom in a little bit. Right. So, right. Okay, cool. It's really a little bit rounded off to begin with, and again, this goes back to the credits back to, right, because of the choice of the sound, right? Now this is more of an 808 bass, so there's some which you can program. You can also select, right, depending on the ADSR envelope, okay, the attack, decay, sustain, release envelope, to have a little bit more transient. But this goes back again to choice of sounds, okay? Now, mixing 70%, 70-80% of mixing is really boils down to your choice of sounds and your choice of arrangement. It really boils down to that. It's very little got to do with your skills or your gear or something like that. If the choice of sounds, right, or that's either being chosen in this case, right, the samples that's being used, or if we talk in a more organic situation, right, recording real drums and real instruments, if your original recording sounds good already, your job is pretty much, 2/3 of the way already taken down there. So what I mean by this, so this bass has its, transient kind of shaved off a little bit, and almost as if it's been sidechained to the kick, right? So except that I don't have to do it lah. So what's happening here is that, because the transient of the synth bass is being slightly rounded off, it actually gives the kick drum, right, a lot of space to move, right, to actually move. Because if you have a bass which is a little bit more transient, it has a bit more punchier, more attacking kind of a bass, then it starts to compete and starts to fight with the kick drum. So, right, this is again, right, boils down to great choice of sounds lah, right? So the 1176 in this case, you can see that I'm slamming it quite a bit, but this is more of the tone. Again, I'm adding a little bit of grit to it, okay? I'm not really affecting too much of the level, right? Let me bypass that. Let's see. I think that's cool, all right? Helps to control. There is one note that kind of goes a little bit loud, so like that note, okay, dun, 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 dun. That's the A, right? That should be the A note. Okay, that A note kind of pokes out a little bit, so having the 1166 just tucks that on and controls it a little bit lah. Okay, very cool. Now we're not done yet. Okay, So after some compression here, I'm going to be adding this guy. So this is called the Bass Rider, okay? So Bass Rider is another plugin from Waves. And what it does is, this is only another one of those intelligent new smart plugins. What it does is that it can track the level, right, of the bass note and, right, basically ride the level accordingly. So imagine you have somebody who is on the fader, or has their finger on the fader here, okay? As you can see, they call this the rider, which is actually a fader. Just imagine you have someone, or maybe imagine that but you can respond in real time super fast to all these level changes. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I already set this to a gentle rider, okay. All the other things like sensitivity, set it at default, works fine. Response, slow, because I don't want it to jump too drastically. Range is important to set, okay. So this range here now is now +3 and -3, so you have a total range of 6 dB. Now you want to be careful with setting this range, because what happens in some situations, like say for example, if you have a very long bass note that sustains and it's meant to fade out, it's meant to boom, fade out a little slowly. If you set your range setting too high, you know what's going to happen? It's going to try to ride the note, the level of the bass note, you see. So you try to ride, you will go right up, and you get a very weird effect. So when the note's supposed to sustain, it's supposed to fade out, instead it gets, you know, sometimes you get a kind of a choking kind of effect. It's like being choked, right? Because the fader will push it up. Now I can't really demonstrate here because we don't really have those kind of notes. Most of the notes in here are pretty short. So, but what Bass Rider do is just going to give an extra level of making sure that the bass notes are all in control. So now the important thing is to set the target. So let's check it out where the target level is. Let's just keep playing the bass. Okay, down here. Okay, so roughly there. So let's bypass it, engage the effect, and then you see the rider will start moving. Okay. See, so there are some notes, right? Some of the lower notes especially, which are a little bit hard to hear. So what it does is that it helps to level it out a little bit more, okay? So that's pretty much it, okay? Not going to say I don't have to compensate for the output. That's perfectly fine. And we're going to move on next to another instance of MV2. Again, all right? Our good friend MV2 here, all right? So let's set this loop again. Same place. Okay, so now what in this case, let's just try and see. To me, it really sounds good, but I think MV2 again will help to sort of bring out a little bit more of the harmonics and give it a little bit more more sustain to it. Okay, let's take a look. I think my range is a bit too far, so let me just bring this up to 2, because it is jumping a bit too much. Let's listen to that. Put the attack a little bit faster on the 1166, okay? Okay, that first note to me just blooms a little bit. I wonder why. It always happens at that very first note. That one. Okay, let me look at the bass rider. Okay, maybe it's just a case of, again, let's narrow the range down a little bit more. Just bring it down to 2. So now my range is 4 dB only. So it's not going to act more beyond that range, like +2 and -2. It's a bit better. It's a little bit better. Okay, let me try and bypass the MV2. Maybe that's what's causing it. I think so. I think the MV2 is kind of causing that note to bloom a little bit. So, right. So in that case, let's not use it. Okay, let's bypass it. All right. So let's not use it. I'm going to bypass that. Okay. Now a couple of other things here. I have R bass. And in this case, I'm not going to use this, right? Renaissance bass is more, again, a kind of harmonics generator. So the most common use is, let's say, for example, if you are having trouble in getting, let's say, a bass to stand out on, let's say, to poke out audible on, let's say, smaller speakers. Because sometimes if you are listening on like full range monitors, the bass sounds good, the low end sounds good, but then when you check on like small speakers or all that, then suddenly, the bass kind of disappears. So, you know, things like R bass, MV2, and in fact, you know, like preamp saturation or on all that helps to bring out all these things, right? So, but in this case, I don't need to use it. So let's just keep it bypassed lah. Okay, let's disengage. And so that's it pretty much for the bass. Okay, very simple. Now, this is slightly saturated. If I want it to be clean, I think I have to go back earlier to the preamp to just clean it up a little bit. But let's just leave it here in this case, okay? Okay, it's just kind of supporting the beat lah, okay? So now, let's see. I got a lot of questions actually. So cool, man. You guys are awesome, right? Keep those questions coming in. Let me kind of scroll back up again. Who else is there? All right. Okay, let's see, okay? All right, so Ben Vincent says, "Hi, I've learned something new today. Never try putting the VTM in first chain. We'll try it tomorrow." Oh, okay, all right. Now, actually, I've actually explained it in my video, right? If you go and check it out, the Cubase project template video, okay? Right, it's on my channel. Go and try and search for that. But again, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. This is kind of the general guideline on how to use the tape and console emulations lah. Now, the idea why we are putting it on every instance, right? The first insert of every track here is because now we're working inside a digital RAM and a digital environment. We're trying to recreate how, you know, the workflow is and how the signal flow goes in an analog world. Because so many of our favorite records, okay, all right, were mixed on analog consoles, recorded on analog tape. So sometimes, right, to go back towards that, right, it's kind of cooler to be able to go back. So the first thing why we have the VTM, okay, because it's as if the track, the kick drum, for example, in here, it's as if this track, the audio was recorded and we are playing it back from a tape machine. So from the tape machine, then you are emulating the signal flow going into a channel of a preamp, in this case the SSL 4000, and going to another preamp section of the Neve 1073, you see. So that's basically why the approach is there, okay? So hope that answers your question lah. Jürgen is from Sabah. Hey, hello man. Apa khabar Sabah? All right. Hope everything is staying safe there, right? I know Sabah is going through quite a serious thing, right? Oh, I just recently mixed a song by Marsha Milan and Velvet, Rich as Strange Husband. So there's a new song which we just did, right? Insan Tadao. That was mixed by me. Okay. Do check it out. Okay. Right. Do check out that song. Right. Right. Ben Vincent from Borneo too. Hey. Right. Everyone's here from Borneo, man. Dedeq, right, is from Miri, right? He is, right, a Miri boy. Okay. All right. Let's see. Hey, Zach. Okay, Zach said interesting how you don't really shape the tone of a lot of the instruments with EQ. Okay, now, again, it boils down to when it comes to reggaeton, when it comes to a lot of hip hop, the producer, right, or the arranger, the producer has already painstakingly selected they've probably gone through, don't know, their sample banks and library banks of all the samples. They've already carefully selected and picked all these sounds already. So with hip hop, reggaeton, and all this, you are not really there as a mix engineer expected to. You're not supposed to go and change those sounds because those are the sounds the producer wants, right? And usually, sometimes they will give you a rough mix as well and a reference mix. Usually, a lot of times they just want you to follow because a lot of things you have to take into account. In hip hop, especially, right, when the producer has already, when they are creating the beat and they're recording it and they're creating the beat, and then when the artist comes in, maybe the producer, maybe the artist or someone else comes in and they're already vibing to that. That's really the beat, the sound and the mix of that. When it comes and they record the vocals, they record their parts, right, with reference to that beat. Okay. When it comes to the mixing stage, when you hand it off, if you were to try to drastically change it, you kind of ruin the vibe. It's suddenly you will find that the vocals don't really vibe, don't work as well together because again, everything affects everything. I will use the same argument even when we talk about guitars, right? Why it's so much better to record a real amp and all that, because you will respond and play and vibe to the sound of a mic and an amp differently than instead of just recording a DI and just thinking that, oh, maybe I'll change the sound later. Okay, but that's a whole debate for another question. So really, when it comes to hip hop and reggaeton and a lot of these kind of styles, even with EDM, and yes, I do mix EDM stuff. Okay, right. I did recently mix one of the remixes, like a dubstep remix for Honest Mistake as well. So with that, there's very little changing of tones because these sounds are already selected by the producer. So we don't usually go around changing it. Right? You just want to make it better. That's all. Make it sound better. Okay. All right. Cool. UAD 1176 versus the VMR 1176. What's the difference? Okay. I don't know the UAD. Okay. Minta belajar Chris Pereira. Oh, hey, you are friends with Chris? Okay. Very, very cool, man. Okay. Right. So now, honestly, the difference between the two is it's really, inconsequential. It's really nothing that you have to, that you want to be bothered about. Now, I have down here, I have an actual 1176 LN, and I can tell you this. I mean, it's an actual Universal Audio model. Okay, and I have the hardware unit. The plugin doesn't even sound like the original hardware unit. I mean, the characteristics are some similar, lah. Okay, but one thing about it, so you really don't be too caught up about the difference between this or that, or Waves have their CLA 76 and all that. Just use the tool, lah. Right? It's not really an important matter. Arguably, I actually kind of it's different. It's different. Now, with the UAD ones, it's more traditional, the straight up, right? Have the plugin with the SSD version, right? With the SSD, with the VMR, the Slate digital version, you have, in this case, okay, right? They have, see, they model the vintage, which is the revision A, this is the revision E, and then this is like a modern. The modern one is not even existent. This one is they created, Slate Digital created it himself. So the only cool thing in here is that, you know, you can kind of switch around the circuitry a little bit. You can play around with, and the main big difference to me, right, is the mix knob. Okay, now for me, the attack and the release also, they kind of behave a little bit differently, but it really doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter the differences. So if I if I use a 1176 version, I'll be from a UAD, or I use a Slate Digital version, to me it's not a huge difference lah. Okay, to me it's inconsequential. I don't think about it. It's just whatever sounds good and whatever works good. Okay, now cool. Let's move on to a little bit with the let's go on. Now, I'm actually going to skip all the instruments like the sample pad and the keys, because what I want to move on, right, for me, what's most important is actually the vocal. So very often, once I've gotten the drums, the main rhythmic beat down, okay, then and perhaps the bass, very often I will move on to the vocal. I'll try to get the vocal sounding good first. Okay, so the reason behind for that is, now if I were to mix everything and make all the music sound perfect and everything, and then you try to mix the vocal in, very often this is what happens, right? Because this has taken up so much space and you're trying to mix the vocal into the music, I find that you have to work so hard, a lot harder. You have to apply so much more processing to the vocal to make it stand out, right, against the music. So what happens is that the original vocal tone suffers, right? It ends up having to EQ a lot, to compress a lot, and all that. So you need to do a lot of drastic processing. So I find it a lot better to actually mix the vocal very, very early on. So in this case, once the bass is in there, I'll put in the vocal already. So let's do that. Okay, so let me show you my vocal mixing chain. Right, so vocal mixing, most of the processing I do can be split into two different stages. Right, number one is called the corrective processing. Okay, so corrective processing here is, as the name implies, all right, you're trying to get rid of all the ugly parts. Okay, so this would mean maybe high passing, maybe do a little bit of EQ to notch out any of the harsh frequencies, sibilants, right? All this stuff is for the corrective side of things. So let's do that first of all. Okay, now, so I have a preset for this, for my vocal chain. I already have a preset for this. This is what it is. This is called the, right, so let me turn this off. So the only thing different, okay, is, right, don't pay attention to this first. Okay, what I have, the only thing different inside the virtual mix rack is that instead of the Neve 1073, I have the Hollywood Virtual Tube Collection. Okay, so the tube collections are a little bit more, because they're modeled after tube preamps. Okay, they are a little bit more, has a little bit more character. So I like to use this, right, to add this to a vocal. Right, so with the instruments, I use the 1073 because that's a little bit more cleaner. But in this case, right, I'm going to use this one instead. So let's turn down. Let's bring this to the same 4K. Okay, now let's ignore this first of all. Okay, let's ignore all this. First things first. Let me set a balance. Sweet, okay, right? Okay, so now, first thing that I have in my vocal chain here, this is called TDR Nova, okay, by the plugin developer, this company called Tokyo Dawn Labs, okay? So TDR Nova is a parallel dynamic equalizer. So MV2 is one of my favorites. TDR Nova, right, is probably either, I would say on par, right, on level of, you know, my top 3 favorite plugins. So a dynamic EQ, right? What it does is that it is not only just a regular EQ, you can treat it like a normal parametric EQ, 4 bands, right? You can control your bandwidth, your frequency, your amount of boost, amount of cut, but you can always engage the dynamic EQ section. So a dynamic EQ section, it's basically a dynamic EQ is a frequency specific compressor, meaning you can tune the bandwidth of that EQ so that it will only react and engage whether a boost or a cut, right? Usually a cut lah, right? Only when that audio exceeds the threshold, right? So it's a very, very powerful tool, because let's say a normal EQ, if you do a cut, let's say at 2K, 2 kilohertz, you do like a right, you cut, let's say 3 dB at 2 kilohertz, and what happens is that throughout the entire track, that frequency is being cut. So sometimes you want that frequency there, right? Maybe you did the cut there because you hear that there's a bit of harshness, but that harshness doesn't happen all the time. Maybe it happens only maybe when the vocal sings a little bit loud or sings a higher note. Okay, that's very typical, right? When vocalists go into a higher range, right? Sometimes a bit of that harshness will come out 3-4K around that region. So you want to chop it out. But if you just do an EQ, okay, yes, granted, you can always automate that EQ if you want to. All right, so every time when it hits that note, maybe you automate, you can do that. That is actually the old-fashioned way of doing it. But having a dynamic EQ makes the job so much easier, because you can set it so that it will only respond, it will only do the cut when it hits that frequency. So let's kind of go in. Let's go into it and see, right, what we can use. Okay, what we'll do with this. Let's just solo the vocal. Okay, chorus. Okay, first things first, definitely. Okay, I can hear there's a bit of the low frequency kind of going through. So this is the filter section, high pass filter.
Bukan main-main, ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu, bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Okay, cool.
Yang selalu di...
Alright, okay. Now, let's listen again. So, high pass filter at 100 Hertz, 12 dB per octave. So now I'm going to, let's listen to the vocal, alright?
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu, bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu.
Alright, okay, so this is where I'm hearing it. So let's engage, let's say band number 3 lah. Let's start with band number 3 first. Okay, Q, the bandwidth, let's switch it to the narrowest bandwidth, maximum Q. And let's engage the band solo, okay? So now I hear alright, I can hear where the problem is, okay? So
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu, bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
it's about 3K actually, just nice at 3K. So what happens is that on some syllables, right, on certain words, you have a little bit of that big kind of a 3K poking out. So what I'm going to do is, let's neutralize the zero gain first. Let's disengage the band solo, right? And now let's engage the dynamic EQ section, right? So we press this threshold, it engages the dynamic EQ. So let's go into there are 2 modes here. So this is split. So split mode, right, means that you split all the 4 different bands here, and so each of them will have a different setting. Or you can always go wide band. So I'm going to go with wide band, all right? So wide band means that all 4 is going to have the same ratio settings, okay? So a ratio, I'm going to go for 3, right? Attack, I'm going to go for fastest attack as possible, 0.1 milliseconds, because when that frequency pops up, I want the dynamic EQ to react to it. Now I want my release also to be fastest, 10 milliseconds, because Once that frequency is gone, I want the direct EQ to let go, right? Let go, release it. Don't clamp down at the frequency anymore. Right, so I want it to be fast in and fast out. Okay, so now it's a matter of setting the threshold.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
It's very subtle actually,
Ingin ku
but
melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu
let's find it.
bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara.
Okay, you can see it acting.
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Yeah, usually on the word mine, you hear that it kind of pokes out a little bit. Now I think the Q bandwidth could be a little bit wider. Let's play it again.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu.
Okay, super subtle, okay? But it just kind of tucks that frequency in a little bit whenever it pokes a bit too much, right? Set and don't forget, okay? Right. Now one more thing. So this one, I can hear. This one is more of a nasal frequency. This is usually when you are a little bit near to the near towards the mic lah. It can be caused by a lot of reasons. It can be caused by nearby reflections. It can be caused by if you are working inside a small room, maybe reflections that are coming up from the side room. But every room will have these certain characteristics. One of the culprits that very common also is actually, right? When you're recording, you have a music stand. The metal music stands that actually can resonate. So if you have someone who is a little bit loud, certain notes, that music stand will actually resonate. So for me, right, that's why I usually don't encourage putting a music stand, all right? Or if you do, right, the music stand, sometimes you need to take a cloth to sort of pat it and cover it. But let's zero into that frequency, okay? I can hear it immediately already. So band solo.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius.
That's about 700. Okay, that frequency, you can hear it. That frequency there. All right, this one. Okay, so let's get our solo. Okay, activate the dynamic EQ. Okay, go into wideband.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Let me back it off a little bit.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar
bypass all
hatimu
this
untuk
first.
mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara.
Okay, cool. Right. To me, all right, it really cleans up the vocal a little bit. Okay, so let's go with this.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now, there's the rest. It's almost similar. VTM, virtual tape machine, virtual mix rack, I showed you earlier. Now, another thing which I have here, right, this is actually an instance of FG stress. So stress is actually a distressor, the model of the empirical lapse distressor. So what you have over here, okay, is that this is actually, I'm running it as a parallel processor. Right, I'm doing parallel processing on the vocals. So, you hear parallel processing. Parallel processing is basically, right, you make a copy. You have one which is the uncompressed version of the audio. Another one, you take another one and you compress or you limit it very heavily. Then you blend in the two. So in the past, you're right, I used to have to duplicate, do another track and then apply processing and blend it in. Nowadays, with most of the newer and modern plugins, it's very easy because you have the mix knob. Okay, so that's probably one of the most convenient and the best things about all the newer plugins lah. Right, you can always do a parallel processing. Okay, for example, even here also they have a mix knob on the Hollywood Virtual Tube collection preamp. So here I've set it to about 50. So this is going to be parallel. I love parallel processing on vocals. You know, if you kind of study the subject and look it up, look up parallel processing. One of the other places where they use it quite often would be drums. They will use bass. Sometimes they will use as well. I'm not really a fan of parallel processing on drums. I used to do it, right? But I found that I just prefer, you know, how it sounds without parallel processing lah. Okay, drums, I just prefer it that way. But having said that, vocals, oh, I parallel process vocals all the time, man. Right, I really, really love it. Right, so I used to do it, right, having to use, again, duplicate 2 tracks and then use a combination of a compressor and limiter on the second one. So, you know, it involves a little bit more steps lah. But here is so much easier, okay? Because all can be done within this plugin and just because of the Mixdown. I usually keep it at 50-50 for a start, okay? But depending on the style, for example, if maybe it's a bit more kind of a ballad and I want the natural dynamics to get through, you know, I'll probably bring this down lah, okay? So the great thing about this, about parallel processing, is that it gives you, right, you can, right, the compressed signal, it gives you that solidness, it gives you that fat, the thickness that comes from the compressed vocal, but you still retain a little bit of that natural dynamics, right, from the uncompressed one. So it's a very, very transparent form of level control, transparent form of compression. That's why it really, really sounds good on vocals, okay? So let's just listen to it.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara.
Let's turn up the input.
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Yang selalu dimintaku itu cuma kamu.
Let's go.
Kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata.
Let's go back to the chorus again.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
So it really sounds very, very natural and very, very even already off the bat. So that's why I love parallel processing on vocals. Okay, so now next thing, okay, if you guys have any questions, right, please do leave them down in the chat session. Okay, all right, sibilance. All right, so this is a de-esser, so let's set it in. I don't think I need that much of it, judging by how it sounds.
Aku rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Yang selalu.
Yeah, pretty much the default setting already kind of works. I'm just trying to catch a little bit of the de-essing. Okay, now next thing, moving on. So you can see here there's another instance of another compressor. So this is the Waves Arcom Renaissance compressor. Now what this is going to do, it's not doing much. It's just catching some of the peaks, okay? Now in this instance, I don't think it's doing anything yet, but let's just listen to it, okay? Yep. So it's not doing anything. So what I want to do is I just want to bring the threshold down until it just catches the very, very, very peaks of it, okay? And the amount of gain reduction I'm going for is not going to be more than 1 dB. It's very little, honey, okay? Yeah, so it's just there to catch a little bit off the top, right? That's all. Okay, so this is pretty much the the corrective side of EQ, right? Okay, now sometimes in certain cases, some other vocals, maybe I need to EQ a little bit further, but it depends lah. In this case, okay, recording was done great. dynamics, the control, everything was really great. It was done, you know, Dedeq's vocals are really awesome already. So it's not much to we do, man. So I say it really boils down to the quality of your source. If you get a very good source, there's very little that you need to do lah. Now we're done with the corrective side of things. We're going to move into the creative, okay, processing. So now what I'm going to do with the vocal here is something that maybe some of you have already seen it, some already know. But I'm going to do, I want to make the vocal sound a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. So there is this little trick, okay? Trick, okay? Not T-H-R, it's T-R-I. So trick. So this is called the vocal thickening trick. So it's not, I learned it from somewhere. I watched it, right? Online, I learned it, right? But this is actually something that emulates, right? One of the effects from one of these old Eventide effects processors. Now, I actually did another video on this, so if you want to watch how you can apply and use this, again, head on down to my YouTube channel, okay? And if you've done so, have you guys subscribed to the channel, right? If you're watching this, okay, please head on down, right, and go and subscribe. You can subscribe to it, go and check out that video, okay? The vocal thickening trick. Now inside that one, I show you how to use it using, let's say, stock plugins inside Cubase. Concept is the same, so you can always, you know, apply it. All right, so but I'm going to show you in here and using what I normally do, what I usually use here. So here I use Waves Doubler, okay? So my Waves Doubler is here, where it is, there we go. So this is actually the default setting. Once you instantiate the plugin, default setting. Right, you want to make sure that your direct is turned off because we only want the processed effect. Okay, let's listen to how it sounds. Okay, listen to how the lead vocal sounds. Right, so that is running through the doubler effect. Okay, so the doubler is like a kind of a chorusing, you know, you do a bit of pitch shifting, a slightly delay, a bit of modulation with a tiny bit of EQ as well. So the vocal thickening trick is very simple. So what I'm going to do is what doubler does is that it makes two copies of it. I pan one hard left, hard right, one goes left, one goes hard right. And what I start with is I will detune each of these. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be a +3, right, on one side and a -3 on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do that so you can hear I solo it. This is how it sounds. Nice wide stereo chorusing kind of effect, right? Okay, so now one thing you must remember to do is, okay, if in this case, like if you are like me, you are applying some processing on the stereo bus, you have to make sure you remember to turn this off. Let's bypass all of these processing goes, because otherwise once you export the file, okay, it's going to export with all that processing in it, right? And then you re-import it and it's going to run through that again. It's going to, you know, it's too much lah. So this is basically what I'm going to do. So the entire lead vocal track all the way from top to end, okay, let's select the start and the left and right markers because this is where I want to export it. So I'm going to export this, okay? So let's see how long it takes. Let's move this here, export. Okay, output channels, let's select the output channel, doubler. Okay, so it's going to export only from Waves Doubler. File name, okay, let's give it the name, doubler +3. Okay, I'll just call it doubler +3 first lah. File type, make sure you're going to wave. Okay, make sure your bit depth sample rate is correct. Make sure it's correct project. Left, right, because you're doing a stereo. Okay, and very importantly, after export, right, you want to create an audio track or insert it to pool. Now this is a Cubase function. It's a Cubase feature. I'm sure maybe your DAW has something similar as well. But basically this is just it immediately re-imports it back into the project. So it saves you one step lah. Otherwise, if your DAW doesn't do it, never mind, you can always just find the file in the folder where you export it to and just import it back lah. Okay, so very, very simple. So double check, make sure everything is good, and let's export. Now This is going to take a minute or two. So guys, if you want to go for a drink break, coffee break, toilet break, or something like that, this is probably a good time to do it, okay? I personally going to go back. I'll see you back in like about 1 minute, okay? Thanks, guys. All right. Export audio. Let's see how long it takes. Oh, that's pretty fast. That's actually pretty fast. It's only taking about 40 seconds. Okay, we'll come back in a minute, all right? Hey guys, I'm back. I'm back. This is a quick visit to the washroom. All right. Okay, cool. Now, let's see. Now, thank you very much, right? Now, if you are, if you just tuned into the live stream, welcome, okay? Now, for the rest of everyone, let me just very quickly explain. Okay, this is MixStream. So now, if you want to support support my YouTube channel, right? I do these MixStream videos. Try to do this every Friday, or sometimes alternatively I do the Ask Me Anything live Q&A sessions. Then I do like tutorial videos, and every Wednesday midweek I do the weekly update Wednesday show program for you. So between 2 or 3 videos a week. Like, if you want to support the channel, right, the best way that you can do it is you can help to subscribe, become a subscriber, okay? So head on down, click on the subscribe button, right, and also on the notification bell. But if you want to take the extra step, if you want to try to help to motivate, okay, the creation and help to support the creation of all these content and videos, do head on down to the website above there. You can see the text that says there, right? Go to patreon.com/studio2105, okay? Now, the great thing about this is that if you sign up today, or if you are watching this this video maybe later on in the replay, and you want to support the artist, because look, now with COVID-19, the live music industry has just taken such a hit, okay? Tourism, live industry, and other sectors, you know, so many other sectors. It's not like any other sector, I've explained it before, where you can just open and go back into business, right? Observe SOPs and all that. Unfortunately, until to this day, do you know that for live musicians have not been allowed to work at all? At all, there's not even any kind of SOPs even been issued out for the live music. For working musicians, you know. Live events, yes lah, you know, live events, all that, you know, they have that. But I'm talking about the everyday musician, right? The everyday working musician. I know so many of them who have not worked a single day. They have not had any income since February, you know, and March, you know. Because bear in mind, right? Even though MCO started in March, events, shows, festivals all started getting cancelled in January and February. So this is going to be one of the slowest industries to recover. So really helps, right? If you can, you know, try and support. So for as little as $1 a month, okay, for the level 1 patrons, or even up to $3, $5, or $10 a month. $10 a month will be right for VIPs, lah. Okay. check out the website www.patreon.com/2105. Okay, right. If you were to sign up, all right, you message and give me the code MixStream13 so that I'll know that you are signing up after you've watched this video, lah. Okay. Now, 50% of revenue is going to go to the featured artists. So I do this for all my mix streams. Even if you go back to watch the previous ones, right, and you want to, donate or contribute to any of those artists which you want to support, you can do so as well, okay? Right? So the revenue, half 50% of it will help to support these artists because they have no shows. They can't work. They have not they don't have anywhere to get their income, right? And then the balance 50%, all right, helps me to maintain this channel and maintain this content lah. Okay, so really appreciate it. Okay, so now let's get back down to business. If you are watching this, please say hi in the comments. Not in the comments, in the chat section. Okay, right? Or if you're watching this on a replay, please do leave your comments, right, or questions in the comments lah. All right. What am I saying, man? Okay, let's move on. So I exported one. Now let's go and do it. I'm going to do this process 3 more times. But what I'm going to do next, I'm going to change the detune value. So the first one was a +3 and a -3. Second one is going to be a -6, -6, and +6. Okay. You might be wondering, JD, why do you switch it around? Why is it like left +3, then -3, and then you switch it around to -6, +6? Here's the reason why. Now, if you do this one +3, -3, okay, hopefully you can see it, and then the second one you do a +6, -6, then the next one subsequently +9. Do you know what it's going to sound? It's going to make your vocal sound one side sharp, another side flat, and that sounds very, very weird. Okay, so basically this is why I'm alternating it so that it will balance out each time I do that lah. Okay, so right, so second one I'm going to export and bounce this out at -6, +6. So let's do this. Right, doubler -6. Make sure that it's coming up from this and export audio. Here we go. All right, okay. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for all you guys who are willing to hang out and check out this live stream with me. So I have not done this in quite a while, about 2 months plus, because of the workshops that I've been doing. And also 2 weeks ago, I wasn't feeling well, so I did not do it. And then last week, I had to postpone it yet again because I was the studio here. We were hired to do like a live stream concert session for an artist. Okay, so let's check it out. Let me go and grab a sip of coffee. "20 seconds. "14, 13, 12, 10. Okay, all right. Guys, if you have any questions, if you have any feedback, please do leave them down in the live chat, okay? Or if you're watching this in a replay, okay, leave them down in the comments below. I always love to hear from you, okay? Now, check out all the stuff that's, right, a lot of things that you can also check out in the description section below. For example, right, if you want to sign up to my email list, you can do so as well, right? Sign up for email list, you get a lot of free access to some free stuff and some free goodies, okay? And of course, right, you get first information as well. You can also sign up to the MixStream community, okay? You can see the logo here, right? That's kind of floating around here. Can you see it? The MixStream, it's a Facebook page, it's a Facebook community group, right? The link is down there. Click on it. You copy and paste the link, and right, check out like the community, right, over there. So it's a Facebook page. So over there we share tips, we share articles with questions. You can always also post your work, for feedback and comments, right, from other members in the community over there. So next one is +9, -9, okay? Let's do this. Plus lots of other stuff which you can check out lah. All right. And we will repeat this process. Let me get something. Just gonna get a little bit of something to keep the mouth dry. Not mouth dry. Keep it hydrated. So the crowd today is from everywhere, man. It's an all Borneo crowd, which is amazing. You know, so I am really happy because you guys are, you know, different crowds. So for example, so many of you guys today are from Borneo, from Sabah and Sarawak. Dedeq, of course, right? He is right. He is a Miri boy, right? He's Kampong is in Miri. And then when I did the different episodes, when I did a Punk Funk Bang from Johor, JB, well, suddenly all the JB friends and all that came on board. And when I did the MixStream for Slapshock, wow, that one was crazy. That was amazing. Because that one, I think I got nearly 3,000 views, and all the Filipino fans came on board and checked out. Okay, so awesome, man. I really appreciate all of you guys out there, right? From wherever you are, you may have been watching this. Now, last one would be -12 plus 12. Okay, now, so as you can see, we only do a total of 4 because when you kind of go beyond +12, -12, you get going to 15, 18, or so on and so forth. It starts to sound a bit out of tune. So, you know, that's pretty much there. That's as far as we'll do. We'll just do 4. Now, again, I did a video, right, really detailing this process. So go and check it out, right, in my YouTube channel, okay? Just go to my channel page, okay? Click under videos. You should be able to look for it. Okay, it's called vocal thickening trick, and I show how I do it using stock plugins, lah. All right, so it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't have Waves Double that you can't do it. You can, right? So in your DAW, you may have your own something similar. Any kind of a chorus, any kind of a delay plugin will also be able to do the exact same thing. Okay. All right, Zach was asking, what monitors am I using? Okay. So I am using a question from Zach. Zach says, I'm using a pair of Kali Audio LP8s, right? So for my main monitors, right, these are 8-inch. Kali Audio is a very new company. They are fantastic sounding speakers, right? For very affordable price. Okay. Now I use Kali Audio LP8s. But when I mix, right, I also will reference to a pair of Yamaha NS10Ms. Okay, so later on in the latter stage of the mixes, I will go back and forth between the two. But this initial stage, pretty much I usually mix on the main monitors first, lah. Right, I will switch over to NS10s, right, later on to fine tune things. Okay. So here we go. So we have all of these. You see, 3, 6, 9, and 12. Let's bring this up here. Okay, so that I can see it. Okay, so let me just group these first together. Now, let's not forget that I switched off all the stereo processing just now. Stereo bus, my master bus. Let's turn it back on. And let's listen to it and see how it sounds. Okay. Lead vocal, send it back to lead vocal group. And excuse me a second. Excuse me, right? Didn't want to cough into the microphone, otherwise you'd be like super loud. Okay, let's listen to all of these guys in solo so you get an idea of how they sound like. Yep. So yeah, you get that kind of a chorus kind of effect, lah. Right. Now you could, of course, there are some other plugins which you can do this in a multi-way, but the reason why I export this as re-import it as an audio file, it gives you a lot more control later on. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to EQ this. So with this, right, we don't need all the bottom end. Don't need all the top end. Okay, so again, some of these resonances, let's get rid of it. Okay.
Sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu.
And something at about 5.5K as well, okay?
Bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
Right, okay, so just getting rid of all that. So let's copy these settings, right? So copying is very easy, just drag it over. So all 4 tracks are going to have the same EQ. Okay, let's link the selected channels and let's also route them to the lead vocal. So what I'm going to do now is let's blend it in, okay? So just going to blend in all the doubler tracks into it.
Hey, Casey. Sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
Right, so this is without.
Gelora asmara.
It's more mono.
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku
slightly wider, you know. So just blend it in. It makes the lead vocal just a slightly wider, a little bit fatter sounding, slightly thicker. You know, it's not only wider frequency wise as well. You know, you get a little bit more of extra air coming out from the sides as well. So this is kind of the goal that we are going for, right? So just blend it in a tiny touch.
Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu duka sekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur.
Right, okay, so let's go and solo this. So next stage, right? So earlier I've talked about the corrective. We have gone into the creative, right? We've added these double tracks. Now the creative side of things is gonna come from this the lead vocal group, right? The lead vocal bus, which I've set up in here. So this is gonna be bus into here. So okay, we've got a couple of other plugins. All right, so actually let me just move this. This is the pre-fader, post-fader positioning, so this should be here. Okay, now, so okay, so now here I have back again another instance of the 1176A. Okay, so for me the A again, it's a bit grittier sounding compared to the the black one is called Revision E, right? Yes, okay, Revision E, the black face. So this one is the blue stripe. So, okay, this little setting which I've set, okay, pretty much almost always, even on my hardware one as well, right? My release is always almost the fastest, and this is the slowest attack, okay? So in this case, this is just gonna add, it's more of giving a bit of character. I'm using this 1176 more for the tonal characteristic, not so much of the actually compressing. Yes, I'm compressing, but compression it's not only does it just control dynamics and levels, but because when it controls dynamics, it brings out energy, you know. So things like the mid-range, everything gets bumped up a little bit. So let's take a listen just on the chorus.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main.
Okay, turn down the output.
Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Yeah.
So it's adding a bit of that thickness to it, you know. Right, level-wise is usually pretty good because, you know, of what the parallel processing is really doing before that. So this is more of actually just more for the tonality. I like to use it because of the tone. Okay, so
lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar.
I'm starting to hear a little bit more of that bottom end. So let's deal with it here in this TDR Nova, okay? Let me just maybe need to bring the high pass up a little bit higher.
Amar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
Okay, yep, just bring up to about 128 lah, okay? So 130, slightly higher.
Gelora asmara.
Again, if you need to be listening to these on either a good pair of monitors or a good pair of headphones, because otherwise you might not be able to hear some of this low frequency rumble which I'm talking about, okay? So here we go, back to this. So cool, I've got this set the way I like it already. Now I'm actually now going to backtrack a little bit and move over to the Pultec. So I have here, this is a Pultec EQ P1. The Pultec EQ is a very, very, very well-known EQ. So what I'm going to do is, I am actually going to play around with this EQ and push this EQ into the compressor. Right? So you see, I set this first to the way I like it. Then only I, mess around and play around with this EQ, because pushing into the compressor causes it to react in a very, very different way. Okay, so now there's again different. It will cause it to change drastically. It will probably cause it to compress a little bit more because I am pushing extra level into more frequencies into the 1176. But it's different lah. Okay, it's just a different kind of a characteristic. So what I want to do is, let's see, okay, broadest bandwidth, okay, widest bandwidth, and probably, I suspect, I just wanted to give the vocal a little bit more of that kind of a sheen, that kind of a pop kind of a sheen. So let's go for maybe like 8K. Let's listen and see.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu
Maybe
bukan
10K.
main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Right, okay. It's bringing out a little bit more of that silkiness. Okay, maybe a bit higher. Let's just try 12K and see.
Yang selalu di mindaku. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
See, it's a bit dull.
Gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk
Right, okay. So now, you might be noticing this, right? So a little bit of those consonant transients, right, from the K, the T's, right, is getting a little bit exaggerated. And that is sometimes the artifacts that happen with this kind of heavy aggressive compression that we are applying on the vocal. So very easy way to deal with it, and right, is to kind of go down into, you need to do a little bit of editing lah, all right? So okay, let's zoom into this. So it's usually happening because of the transients. Okay, the ku, tung, mu, you can see this is what, sometimes it depends. Some vocals exhibit this problem. Some, it's not a problem, it's a characteristic. It's just that the compression brings out all this stuff, makes it a little bit more, prominent, you see. So very easy way to deal with, right, is just to do a little bit of editing to it. Okay, so let's just trim it down a little bit so it should be a little bit lighter. There you go. Right, so now I'm actually gonna go through one by one through all this, but I'm not gonna do it now or live on stream lah. I'll tackle with it. So bear in mind, you're gonna hear all that. It is going to be a little bit speedy there, but that's something that's very easily dealt with lah. Okay, so this is how we will deal with it later. And the problem also gets exaggerated because you can see on double tracks you also get this. So very often what I will do on the double tracks, if this becomes too much of a problem, I will just snip all this section off, okay, and just fade it in like that. See, it's so much on the taku, right? So much more natural, a little bit lighter as well. Okay, but again, this is something I'll do this later lah. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's listen to
rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu.
Okay, I have this little de-esser. Sometimes this de-esser will also help to catch those S, the T, those very very bright transients. So that's why I have sometimes two instances of a de-esser. Okay, so bear in mind we are now in the creative side.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, nice. Right. So here we have MV2 again. So this is, again, I want to sort of bring out again a little bit more of the energy and the vibe lah. This one is going to be a less dramatic. It's just a tiny touch. So let's just listen to it.
Yang selalu lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
So this is again a tiny touch, only just a very very tiny touch. Now moving on, we have vocal rider, right? So earlier on I showed you, you saw bass rider. So this one is also similar concept to that, okay? Except this one is fine-tuned right towards vocals. So this is one preset called smooth, right? Because again, I don't want this to be aggressive. I want this to be very very gentle, as transparent as possible. Range, I'm going to set it to a little bit higher. So this is going to be +4 and -2. And then same thing, right? Sensitivity, all that, I'm going to set to default. Default settings work 99% of the time, okay? All right, slow, so that it doesn't react too fast. So let's just set the target level.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like cheating, man, because it does the work so easily. Okay, so it does that so easily. So now this one, it's kind of generally pushing the vocal a little bit higher on average. So what I need to do is I need to compensate, right? So this might need to.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Right. So especially when you get to some of the lower notes, right? The lower softer notes. So this really helps to bring it out. Okay. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Okay. All right. So that is the lead vocal. Now we actually have quite a bunch of other stuff. Okay. So now for the choruses, okay, these are all the quad tracked vocals. Okay, so let's just take a quick listen to this. So these are all the same thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Yeah, okay, so these are all quad tracked. So let's treat this very very simply now. For these are vocal layers. I don't necessarily go with the same as complicated a plugin chain. I go with just something a little bit simpler. I still do the parallel processing here, okay, but instead of the Hollywood, the tube preamp, I just go back with the normal one lah. Okay, all right. There's actually should be a preset called. Oh, all right, Voc Para. That's fine. Okay. I set it that way. I just have to tell myself, remember to change it to the SSL, the 4000 E setting. So let's just solo this first. Now, again, with layers, okay, they don't need all the super bottom low end.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu
And I'm just going to use the built-in EQ in Cubase.
bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu
Don't need the top end. Like,
untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara.
so above 10K lah, I don't need that, okay?
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Okay, let's cut out that 2.5.
Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu.
Same characteristic actually, right? But in previously I was dealing it with, like in the main lead vocal track, I was using TDR Nova. Here I'm just using a normal EQ, right? Because that's fine, okay?
Bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar
660 hertz.
benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main.
Right, okay. So that's good. So let's copy it over here to all these 4 tracks, the quad track layer. Now let's link all of it so that it's easy to balance. Now let's have them like maybe 50 right, 50 left. Now I don't want to really spread it too wide around because I want to give space for the higher vocal. Okay, so let's just blend it in.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Okay, cool. All right, very, very cool. Now, let's move on to the effects first. So the first thing I want to add on is I want to give it a little bit more, again, a bit of depth, okay? But instead of the earlier reverb, I'm going to use this. This is Super Tap. Now, Super Tap is, again, from Waves. It's actually a delay. But what I've set it to is that this is going to be a single delay repeat. Very, very short, very, very quick delay repeat. Right, I think here we are looking at very, 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 very fast, right? So, very short, and it's a single delay. Feedback, you turn it off because I'm not looking for repeated echoes in here. Okay, this is just going to be a single echo reflection, so that it sounds like it's being recorded inside like a nice, expensive sounding wood room. So the key to that is an EQ. So over here, this is a low pass. Right, so this is a low pass filter at 1.5K. So basically it means at 1.5 kilohertz above, right, we're getting rid of all the top end lah, right? So you sound a little bit more dark, a little bit more warmer sounding. So let's see how it sounds, okay?
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Right, so this is exaggerating a little bit. Let me put it up so you can hear how it sounds.
Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu.
Right, so it's just a single reflection, okay? All right.
Bukan main-main.
So this is just a tiny bit.
Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Lihat sayang ke mataku.
Okay, very, very cool. Now, first things first, I have this mono delay here. So this mono delay, I will set it to, let's see what tempo this is. This is 86, so I probably have to set it to 16 notes. So this mono delay is just going to, just to give it a bit of, again, a bit more depth, like front and back.
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
Right, just a tiny touch.
Gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main.
Okay, great. So the next thing would be this guy. This is a stereo delay, right? So in the choruses, I will have this stereo delay on. Okay, let's listen to it.
Lihat sayang.
Okay, let's see.
Sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua.
Okay, now I want to set it to have ducking. So ducking here is so that, right? So when the audio signal is present, it will actually duck the delays down a little bit softer lah. And once once the audio signal has stopped, once the vocal line is stopped, for example, then the delays are allowed to come back up again. So let's just see how it sounds.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
See, so in between the sentences lines, the delay is allowed to come out again. Because otherwise, if you have that delay going on, it will kind of muddy up the vocal too much, especially during the rhythmic part. Then you have the delay bouncing around. It's going to be quite messy. Okay, let's listen to in context. The feedback could be a little bit more actually. Okay, in fact, I think maybe the ducking could be a little bit less. Let's go to like -20. Right? So I have that mine, right? Every time on the word mine, you can hear that little echo kind of repeat going on. Now let me play around with that. It feels like that delay echo could use a little bit of grit to it. Now, for the stereo delay, I've already EQ'd it so that this is, 200 and 3K. So you only get pretty much only the mid-range. But we can add a tiny touch of distortion to it. Right? That's the great thing about the Brainworks BX delay. A lot of functions inside here, okay? Let's try. Okay, that's too much. Okay, so the gain kind of brings up a little bit too much of that. So let's bring it down a touch. Let's try and push the stereo width a little bit wider, okay? So the delay tails sound like it is a little bit further out of the speakers, right? Just a tiny touch. Okay, now I only want this the stereo delay to be in the choruses. Now the reason is, again, we are trying to build dynamics, okay? So mixing is about dynamics, right? It's a very, very important thing. So now in the verses, I want it to be pretty much just mono. But then when you get into choruses, then to make the song a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, you either layer more instruments, you double track, you add layers, you add maybe a higher frequency part to the sound. Or in this case, you move from a mono delay in the verses to a stereo delay in the choruses, okay? So let's check it out, right? So this will be... Let's keep the stereo delay.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu.
Okay, and then coming out of the chorus.
dalam tidur.
Yeah, so then what clicks back in every time. Let's automate this first lah.
Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu. Bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu. Bukan main-main.
Right, so every time it kicks into the chorus, it goes into a stereo delay. Okay.
Ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu. Bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu, rasaku untukmu. Ku akan main-main. Takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Aku bukan main-main.
Okay, let's just leave those on first, okay? All right, so moving on. Next one, let's add in the high part. So the high part is actually just an octave above, if I'm not mistaken.
Lihat sayang ke mataku.
Yep, just an octave higher. So same thing. Okay, switch it to bit 4K. EQ it a bit.
Ku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, keluar asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main.
Okay, let's get that out about 4K.
Ya sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu
Yeah, about 4.1K. Like, if you're listening on headphones, that might be a little bit piercing for you, okay? I apologize, all right? Okay, so these will be pan hard left, hard right. Let's blend these in.
lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
Okay, now these are double tracks. So these are...
Berdua.
Okay, essentially these are also doing doubles. But what I'm going to do with these ones, I'm going to filter it out a little bit lah. So I have a preset phone line. Okay, let's check it out how that sounds. Okay.
Asmara. Serius kamu main-main.
Okay, alright. So these are just going to highlight some of the words. Okay, so let's blend this in. Okay, these doubles are just there to kind of reinforce those keywords in the chorus.
Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yang selalu dimindaku.
Yeah, that's it, pretty much. Okay, so now that I've got the vocals sounding the way I like it, then, you know, it makes it easier to build the mix, right? And so that the instruments now will support the vocal, you see. So that's why I skipped from the drums, going to the bass, vocal. Now I'm going back to the going back to the instruments. So let's go back to this, all right? Okay, melodic sample, let's check it out. And let's play.
Dedeq. Hey, Casey. Yeah. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu.
Okay, let's put in the preamp emulation, right? 4KE.
Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara.
Let's just balance all this first, okay?
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yang selalu dimindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering
Okay, pads. Okay, right. So with pads, with these kind of pads, right, this sounds more like just chords. It's just... Okay, now we can hear there's a lot of these delay tails. So what I love about that, MV2 again, okay? Now this one, let's see. Because this will help the delay tails, right, to come out a little bit more. Interesting. Oops, I think I accidentally removed the VTM. Now I can hear a little bit of the preamp distorting. Let's keep it clean lah. Right? Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean. Now it needs a little bit of sparkle to it. So let's add in revival. Revival. Interesting. It's still distorting somewhere. Maybe the sound itself has got a bit of saturation in it. Let's turn this off. Very interesting. Is it coming from... Yeah, there's a tiny touch even though I've turned this off, you know? Ah, okay, a little bit is coming from the tape. That's very interesting. Let's turn this down, turn the input down. Okay, that does clean it up a little bit. Somehow bringing it up kind of brings out all that little bit of distortion as well. Okay, maybe it doesn't need this. No, it's not the right one. Let's put in... Let's take this away. Let's put in the custom series lift. I just need a bit of air to it, you see. Interesting. But when I bring it up, the bit of that distortion comes up as well. Now, let's listen to how it sounds. All right. Right, good, right? Just let it sit down underneath there. Let's go with the keys. What's this keys? Alright, okay, these are all on the upbeats. Now for this, I pretty much know what I like. I like to have the LA3 on this, right? LA3, I love it on, you know, something that's more cleanish. Oh, that's not the LA3. Okay, LA3A. Here we go, this one. Super simple compressor as well. Okay. Okay, I think just to give it a bit of space, let me balance this pad keys to the left. Okay, it needs a bit of EQ just to brighten that. Again, let's go with the CS lift. Okay, right. So now, actually, for now, right, all the vocals, the Ks and the Ts and all that's kind of bothering me a little bit. Now, usually at this stage in time, if I was mixing it not doing a live stream, I would immediately go and tackle it and solve it right away because it's really bugging me, my ears. But, you know, if I were to do all this editing work here, right, it would take like an hour or two of just seeing me editing. Though that's super boring content. So I'll just do that later, okay? And almost there. What? Almost there. Okay, no lah, we still have the BVs, okay? So next thing, very important, will be all these vocal samples. So let's check it out, okay? Now let me mute the vocal. Okay, now let's just check it out first. Just make sure sometimes with these samples you get a little bit of like low end information. So let's get rid of this low end rumble. Let's EQ a bit. One more time. About here. Yeah, about 1.2. Get rid of that. Okay, now all these, the vocal chop samples, right, they're all being routed to a group as well, so it's going to be easier to treat it later on. Now with these, as you can see, I'm not putting anything on it, okay? Just a little bit of high pass, a tiny touch of EQ on it. Okay, there's this little thing here. Yeah, it rings a little bit at 7.3. Try it again. Okay, now this one has got a bit of honkiness there. Let's try about 2K plus. There, that about that 2.3 there. Right, okay, so now let's solo into all of this, listen to it as a group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap on a Waves L1 just to give it a bit of a limiter. Now I'm dragging this down so I make sure that my threshold and output ceiling will remain the same, keeping it on the link lah, right? Just to maybe control some of the loud notes that pop out. That's all, okay? Just a tiny touch, tiny touch here. So, auto release probably. Let's listen to it. Okay, let's add in that little bit of the reverence reverb we had earlier. So give it a bit of more front depth. Okay, let's check it out. right, okay, so now the vocal effects might be a little bit overpowering. Let's listen to it.
Yeah, yeah. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yeah, yeah. Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu.
Let's try that again. Let me go back to the bass again. So let me try, let's not have this saturated a little bit. Let's keep it clean and see. So remember this is at 65.3. Let me maybe just turn it off. Actually now, see? Now, that's why we said, and don't forget. Now I come to think about it, keeping the bass more towards a subby side is kind of gives the vocal a bit more space in the mid-range. Because when I saturate the bass, you know, you get a bit of that, the harmonics that's coming out, you know, a bit of overdriven harmonics from the bass that's coming out, and that kind of starts to step on top of the lead vocal, because the lead vocal is, you know, much more a softer tone, a very airy kind of a light tone, you know, and the bass is adding on that mid-range. The is kind of stepping onto it, so that's where I probably need to fine-tune lah. Okay, let's check it out. All right, so okay, I probably need to. Okay, let me just bring this down a little bit more on the control, because what the preamp was offering, we did a little bit of that, but it also, when you sort of overdrive it, it changes the frequency content. Okay, maybe it needs to be turned on, but let's just leave it down clean.
Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I think that's fine. That I like that, because it gives space for the vocal, alright? Gives a little bit more space to the vocal.
Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Yeah, yeah. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yeah, yeah. Yang selalu.
Alright, okay. So the thing is, this vocal effects, I need to automate it a little bit. So in the intro, I think we'll leave it here. But when it kicks into the chorus,
Casey. Yeah, yeah. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main.
yeah, once the chorus kicks in, this needs to dip down to about -3 dB. Okay, let's break it down. -3 dB. -3 dB.
Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
Okay, let's pump up a little bit of EQ. So, right. So on my vocal chain, after my vocal rider, I also have another instance of this is the API 560. So this is a graphic EQ. Now, so I will also sometimes fine tune the vocal a little bit here. So this is where I think maybe a tiny touch will do. So a little bit of 1K.
Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku tak
Okay, just a tiny touch, okay?
Bila sedang aku di dalam dirimu, katakanlah saja apa-apa maumu, dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main.
Sweet, okay? Now, let's move back. Okay, we've, don't forget, okay? Let's jump it back. You will see sometimes in mixing, I will jump back and forth, right? Over certain parts. So let's go back to this verse snare. Okay, 4KE drums. Let's check it out, all right?
Yang selalu dimindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan.
Listen to this. Doesn't need much, actually.
Dampingiku untuk selama-lamanya. Yang selalu dimindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan berat.
Okay, let's add snare 4. Snare 4. Snare 4.
Beradu.
Snare 4. Hey, I see someone there. Hello, Chris. What's up, man? This really is a Borneo party, man, tonight. Everyone from Sabah and Sarawak is on the live stream today. That's cool, man. How you doing, Chris? All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this one's kind of adding a little bit of the low end, right? Better check and see, right? Let's invert the polarity. Okay. It's a tiny touch at 4. Procrastinating, Chris? What do you mean? Supposed to be doing some work? Okay, right. So I was removing a bit of 400 out of the snare 4 because both of these snares also have their range of harmonics as well. So I felt that the one from snare 3 was fine because snare 3, tuk, 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 that note. That's actually the A note, you know. That's actually A note at how many what's that frequency? That's at 440, yeah. That's about 440 hertz. So there, right, because the key is in D, so D minor, right? So A note is harmonic. It's a harmonic. It's enharmonic 2D, not enharmonic. Sorry, it belongs in the key, right? So the A note fits fine. But in snare 4, okay, again, if in snare 4, 400 hertz was more of, yeah, you kind of get somewhere between G and G sharp. So it almost sounds like, you know, you are playing a chord. If you're playing like a D, G, and A chord, you get what I mean, you know. So sometimes you see frequencies are actually the notes on your keys, right, are actually different frequencies. So over here, when I was hearing it, it's like, that's why I heard the snare 4, the G note at 400 hertz was kind of clashing a little bit with the harmony. So this kind of clears it out a bit. It actually strengthens, right, the chord, right? So it's like a D minor chord. So it's a D, F, and A. So having a G inside a D minor chord is a little bit weird because you get, you know, it's more, yeah, it's like a well, there's a whole theory behind it. Like it's like a D minor 11 or something like that. Okay, so you get the kind of a weird thing. But so basically there's a clash. Plus the G and the A note is like next to each other, you see, so you get a bit of a clash there. So I figured that, you know, cutting out the 400 hertz here would just clears it up a little bit better. Okay, so here we go, and that's it. Sweet, man. Okay, I'm digging it. Okay, because whenever I feel like the track is like locking in together, it's very funny, right? Mixing is it's not a linear process where everything goes from start until it gets better until the end. It's almost always like you're going like you can't really find your way. And there is a point somewhere in the middle, like maybe 2/3 of the way, where suddenly everything magically kind of falls in. So I kind of feel like I'm reaching that spot right now. And usually the best way to tell, okay, is that when I start bopping and when I start to, you know, start singing along with the track, that's usually I know, okay, things are falling in place together already. So, you know, I'm really feeling it. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So next thing I want to add would be, let's deal with this verse BVs first. Okay, let's check it out. All those K's and T's are still really bugging me though, but I'll deal with it later lah. Okay. Okay, so these are all the BVs in the verses.
Dalam tidur dan beradu, di dalam nyata selalu ada.
640, 650. Let's scoop it all out.
Selama-lama-lamanya ujung dunia.
About 3.4K as well. We need to just to clean it up, okay? That's all. Tiny touch. Let's keep all these verse BVs. Should we have them hard left, hard right? I don't know. Let's check it out.
Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata. Kau di dekatku selalu ada. Dampingiku untuk selama-lama-lamanya. Temaniku sampai ke hujung dunia.
I'll keep it more towards maybe not hard left, hard right now. Okay, again, this is more of dynamics. So, you know, in the verses, I have a little bit more, everything more towards the middle, a little bit center. Then when you kick in the chorus, everything will be hard left, hard right.
Aku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata.
Okay, I feel like this needs something, man. I feel like this needs like a harmony on top. And let's duplicate this simple way and let's try this first, okay? Feels like it needs it. Okay, let me unlink this and let's transpose this up an octave. Let's see how it sounds. Right, cool. Now this one I'm going to roll up much more of the low, a lot more of the low end. Okay, this one need to EQ it a little bit more drastically. Take all the top end. Now let's just blend this in and see how it sounds, okay?
Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata. Kau di dekatku selalu ada. Selama-lama-lamanya.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm adding that one octave higher. Okay, let's move on.
Temaniku sampai ke hujung dunia. Apabila sedang aku di dalam saja apa-apa maumu, dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main. Bila bersama.
Okay, very cool. Okay, now let's go over to the harmonies. So you see, the harmonies only come in kicking only on the second chorus onwards. Again, this is dynamics lah, right? So instead of chucking in all the harmonics, starting it right off, first one is just clean, just octaves and then layers, okay? Then the harmony only comes in the second chorus. So this is again arrangement techniques, right? Building dynamics inside your song. Let's go. Same thingy. Let's check it out.
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Around is these two notes actually, so can have a little bit wider scoop.
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Gets cool, right? Let's copy this. Now harmonies, I think harmonies let's pan this all hard left, hard right, okay? Awesome, man. This is sweet sounding harmonies. Okay.
Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
Oops, -7.
Bila bersatu, lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Okay, let's send this all to the BV group, okay? It's probably going to be a bit louder now.
Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main.
Nice, lovely, okay? So now on this BV group, okay, all the BVs are all being bussed to this group. Now I have another sort of a preset that I have. So with these, I usually give them a tiny touch of the LA2A. Okay, just a tiny touch.
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Okay, now I'm gonna need a little bit of the LA2A now, not the LA2A, the TDR Nova, because the thing is with certain microphones, when you stack different vocals, you know, every track will have a little bit, you get a bit of a build up of the resonances. So
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
this one,
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
1050,
bukan main-main.
just about 1K.
Bukan main-main. Rasaku untungmu bukan.
Hello, 0? Okay, yeah. So let's disengage. Let's take out a band solo, go into dynamic EQ mode, ratio 3, and as usual, fastest attack, fastest release, okay?
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main. 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 Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Okay, and about 1.5K. You're getting something light there as well, okay? Just a light one.
Untungmu bukan main-main. Rasaku 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 untungmu bukan main-main.
Nice, okay? So now with these, I'm also going to send it to the same stereo delay.
Rasaku untungmu bukan main-main.
Now it feels like the delay also needs to be EQ'd a little bit, so let me just touch it up a bit. 1.5K. That. Okay, let's get out of that. Okay, now this little line here, the fill at the end. So this is another harmony. Let's check it out. Let's loop that. It's like a more lower, like a lower range kind of an EQ to it. Let's turn off the the delay first, because the effect is a bit distracting. Let's turn it off first. $660. Now, if you paid attention, if you rewind back later on, you see that a couple of times I've spotted that frequency 660. This is probably again maybe a characteristic. Sometimes can be a characteristic of maybe the vocal. Maybe each person has its own unique resonance. It could also again be a characteristic of the room, but it's hard to tell, right? Unless you are there lah. Okay. Okay.
Aku takkan main-main, 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 aku takkan.
Yeah, let's just clean it up. So copy over to these. So this is a mid-range harmony, so I will probably only push these out maybe 75, not all the way hard left, hard right. Okay. And how are we doing for time, man? 12:30. Okay, right. So I think we're about 3 hours in. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for still hanging on in there, man. Really, really appreciate it. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, by the way, Chris and Dedeq, please, if you guys have you guys met each other before? Okay. Right. So, Chris also is a good friend of mine, right? Also a producer. People will know him by his rap nickname, Decipher BKI, part of the Rogue Squadron as well. So, do you guys know each other? Because from Miri and in KK, again, I'm assuming that everybody in Borneo knows each other, is it? It's like, yeah. Okay, baby, I'm so semenanjung is. Okay, let's listen. I got a feeling let's try to tuck in the bass a little bit, like 1 dB down. Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu untuk kesekian kali kau hadir lihat sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main bila bersatu berdua gelora asmara benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main. Almost there. Okay, now let's put in the fills. Okay, these fills again, these can be a little bit more filtered.
Bukan main-main, 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 bukan
So, you know, these feels a little bit more, slightly more filtered kind of effect to it lah. Okay, this should be going to, let's send it straight to the vocal, because if I'm sending it to the BV, if it's hitting the compressor, right, it's causing it to clamp down. So this don't need to go to the BV group, okay? This will just go straight to the vocal group. Oh, hello. Now that's very loud. Excuse me. And let's link the two. Maybe I need to spread these vocal effects things a little bit wider. Okay, I'm jumping back to this. Okay, I just feel I need to bring out those notes a little bit. Okay, let's bring in a bit more of these sound effects. Okay, so this is like the like a little sweep coming in. Okay, let's give this guy a bit of reverb to it. Let's give it like a long ass reverb. So you get a kind of a little super long tail. Let's listen to it. And where did it go? Okay, there. Ooh, okay, let's try that. Let's give it a long pre-delay. Let's put it all the way to 200 milliseconds and see. Let's go with a click. Okay, because I kind of want this little reverb to start a little bit later, so you get a bit of a gap, a bit of rhythmic thing to it. Right, let's just set it at that first. The reverse effects. Cool. Very cool. Cool effects thingy going on. So this should go over to my... Let's go straight into the stereo. Let's check my routing for my effects also. Okay, that's correct. That's right.
Hey, Casey. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now let's see. Now for this for the kind of intro parts, I don't think we need the double tracks that we did. So let's just trim it back. Just keep the vocal like solid in the center. We also don't need the stereo delay, so let's turn off the stereo delay. So the stereo delay only kicks in the chorus itself. Okay, let's automate a little bit. So in the intro, it's to be a little bit softer. Almost there, man. Okay, maybe the mono delay needs to be a little bit longer. Cool. Okay, so this one I'm not really hearing. Let me just check and see why. Okay, that's probably why, okay? Because here's the thing, you have to be careful when you are bussing or mixing into compressors. Sometimes when you're turning this up, what's happening is you are pushing the compressor down a little bit further. So maybe instead of doing that, okay, let me just check this first. Okay, right, because it's pushing into the compressor. Let's put the dry mix maybe about 50%. So same thing, TDR also you can do it parallel. Okay, now we blend in this one. Right, okay. Right, okay, so what we're gonna do is that I have to do a little bit of automation here. So here, this one. Back down. Right, just that this little line here needs to be automated up lah. Right, about 2 dB roughly.
Yang selalu diminta tu berdua Gelora asmara Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu Aku takkan main-main
Same thing, so that last line just needs to be automated. Automation. Roughly 2 dB first.
Ku miliki kamu bukan untuk sementara Tu berdua Gelora asmara Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu Aku takkan main-main Yeah, yeah, takkan main-main Aku takkan main-main Aku takkan main-main Aku bukan main-main Dia sayang ke mataku Rasaku untukmu asmara
Okay, last little bit here.
Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu Aku takkan main-main Takkan main-main
Right, okay, very cool. We are almost there, man. Right, sounding good. Okay, so last little bit that I want to add on would be these Adlibs. So let's check out. So Adlibs are gonna be all pretty much on their own track, like on their own part. Not gonna be bussed to anything. Yeah, so let me just check it out. So later on, I think there's a little part here that I want to highlight. So let's just do this part first.
Casey, 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 Casey Dedeq Casey, 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 Casey.
It's about a 2K there.
Casey, 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 Dedeq, Casey, Casey, yeah, yeah. Dia sayang ke mataku.
Okay, cool. So let's move on. We are almost there. Now I want to just slap on this little effect here. Okay, now, so I think it needs like a long kind of a mono delay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Sound Toys little primal tab. Okay, now, so this is actually a simplified version of, I can't remember, is it Lexicon or Eventide, but they make a delay. It's called the prime time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a calculator first, and you see why I need it. Okay. Thanks, guys. Almost there. Last bit of coffee. So calculator. Now this effect unit, there's no sync, doesn't sync to the host because it's emulating like the version of the actual hardware unit. You can only adjust the time in milliseconds. So when you can't sync, you can't set quarter notes, or it doesn't sync to the tempo, then you have to find out what is the delay time, right, manually. So there's a formula, right? Very simple formula for figuring out delay time. Okay, it's very easy. It's 60,000, right? 60000 divided by the tempo of the song in BPM. So in this case, right, this is, let me close this because you can't see, 86, right? 86, not sure whether you can see in my screen or not. Can, right? 86 down here, right? So let's take a calculator or a smartphone, divide by 86. So the resulting figure is 697.67. Okay, so you can kind of roughly round it up to maybe 698 lah. Now this doesn't go to 698. You see, it goes up to 511. So we have to go to the next. Okay, let's try that again. 60,000 divided by 86. So 697 milliseconds here. This is your delay time in terms of the quarter notes, right? So it is your quarter note delay time. So if you want to set, let's say, an 8 note, let's say if I want to get a 697 inside here, I have to go to divide by 2, 348.8. So that's about 349. Can I get 349? Never mind. 3/4/8 also can. 3/4. It's very hard to control. Okay. 3/4. Okay, let's get 350. Okay, and then you have to multiply. So you multiply by 2 lah. Okay, so let's set the mix to maximum because 100% wet, right? 100% wet mix. Okay, feedback, that's about halfway. Input level also maybe just tiny touch underneath that. So let's see how it sounds. Right, where is the adlib? There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, this timbales, I think, just need to shave off the top end a little bit. The timbales feel just a little bit too bright. Okay, cool. Let's add on this. One of my favorite limiters actually for using for vocals is actually Waves L1, man. L1 is very, very transparent, and you can use it for, let's just put, let's say, vocal limiter. Okay, actually it basically means it's auto release lah. You have to set this by yourself anyway. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Now, I'm going to send a little bit of this delay into the reverb actually, so let's just see how it sounds, okay? Okay, let's turn off, let's automate this. I don't need this here. I think we can just pump it a little bit harder, I think. Just slam it all the way. Let's just slam it all the way, man. Okay, there we go. Make it just pop a little bit more. That's better. Helps to bring out a little bit more of that air, you know. this a little bit. This sounds just a tiny touch early.
Itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu. Untuk kesekian kali kau hadir dalam tidur. Mimpi kita di kayangan dan beradu. Ku mau di dalam nyata.
Okay, and not only that, I'm just appended just a tiny touch to the one side, okay? A little bit only, little bit.
Kau di dekatku selalu ada. Dampingiku untuk selama-lamanya. Di dalam nyata. Kau di dekatku selalu ada.
That little woo needs to go up a little bit. It's about 3 dB.
Kau di dekatku selalu ada. Dampingiku untuk selama-lamanya. Temaniku sampai ke hujung dunia. Apabila sedang aku di dalam dirimu. Takkanlah saja apa-apa ku sampai ke hujung dunia.
Okay.
Dunia. Apabila sedang aku di dalam dirimu. Takkanlah saja apa-apa maumu. Dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku.
Okay, these needs to be also automated up. That's same also by about 3 dB, I think. But I will need to turn off the delays on this lah. Now these are all just temporarily. I'll just set it there, right? I may take it out later. Or I may add something. It all depends on the mood, man. Almost there. This one needs to be louder. This one needs to bring up about, I think, 5.5 dB, I think. Six dB, I think. 6. Tiny touch rush, I think. Let's bring this here. Hasrat ini ingin bersama lebih lama. Jika hanya bisa lebih dari yang biasa, pasti ku mau cerita tiada akhirnya. Sungguh aku tak main-main. Aku tak seperti yang lain-lain. Tiada lagi itukah inikah. Hanya ada satu rasaku untukmu. Bukan main-main. Bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamat sayang ke mataku. Rasaku untukmu. Bukan main-main. Bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamat hatimu. Okay, here I think I need to bring a little bit back of the highs back in. So let's roll this off. Yeah, alright, so need to bring that top end back. And okay, confusing now. There's so many automation track lanes to take care of. Okay, let's go 5. Oh, what happened? Oh, -5. That's why it went so soft. Right, so okay, here's a little effect thingy that Dedeq asked me to do. I have to try and fine tune it and see. Okay, lit.
Main-main Leher sayang ke mata Leher sayang ke mataku Leher sayang ke mata Bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Rasaku untukmu
Let's play around with that.
Bukan main-main Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku
Let's play around with that. Okay, so maybe this filter needs to be not so high, I think. Okay, let's check it out. Maybe
Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang
let's go 400 hertz.
Bukan main-main Leher sayang
Let's go to 500.
Bukan main-main Leher sayang bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Rasaku untukmu Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu Main-main Leher sayang
Still getting a bit of that low end. Let's go 600 hertz.
main-main Leher sayang aku bukan main-main
Okay, and we probably need to turn this back down to about 4.8K, the top end filter, because now it's a bit too bright. Yeah.
Leher sayang ke mataku rasain Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu main-main Leher sayang
Okay. Let's turn up the delay also.
Leher sayang ke mataku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku main Leher sayang ke mataku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu
Maybe let's check out the bass note here.
Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku bukan main-main Leher sayang aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu
Maybe putting the bass out helps to bring it out. I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main Bila bersatu berdua gelora asmara Aku bukan main-main Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main Bila bersatu berdua gelora asmara Benar
Okay, a couple of other things I need to automate as well.
aku untukmu bukan main-main Ingin ku melamar untuk mencintamu bukan main-main
Okay, that melodic sample, I think it needs to just kind of dip down in the chorus.
Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu bukan main-main Bila bersatu berdua gelora asmara Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu aku takkan main-main Yang selalu di mindaku itu cuma kamu yang sering bertamu
Okay, then when it gets back to the verse, you can bring it back up.
Yang selalu di
You can come back up in the verse now. Almost there, guys. Right. So what else is going on? Okay, let's bring this down. 26.
Di mindaku itu cuma kamu Leher sayang ke mataku rasaku untukmu bukan main-main
can copy this and let's do the same thing. Just have this thing kind of dip down. Okay, just have this guy. So every time the chorus kicks in, this will kind of just dip down a little bit. And same thing. Okay, so generally speaking, because the last chorus is a little bit busier, so I think the vocal also needs to come up by a tiny touch. Alright, okay, almost there, man. Now, so this is pretty much for me, right? The very close to the first draft of the mix already. Okay, so usually what happens is that at the end of this, right now, kind of coming up to about 3.5 hours already. You know, it's probably a good time to take a little bit kind of an ear break. Like usually, this is what I do. So I will come back, and usually at this time, I will switch over to my smaller speakers, in this case the Yamaha NS10s, and here I will fine tune the balance a little bit more because I mix with different monitors. Okay, so this is to give my ears a little bit of a break every time I'm, you know, so I don't get saturated just listening to one monitor. I change my frame of reference, so I mix across with different monitors, the big ones, then move over to the smaller NS10s, then maybe even to the smaller speakers that I have over there, just to get a different frame of reference. Okay, so usually at this stage, I will check already. I already kind of check it on the Yamaha NS10s. The vocals, all right, have a lot of automation to do, okay, in terms of the levels and all that, but this is pretty much there. I'm really happy with the way it sounds, really. Okay, now a couple more things I just want to show you. Now, a few other stuff which I love to check on. Okay, let me just very quickly show you first. Okay, so now at the Masterbuss, I am just going to dump in one thing. All right, this would be the okay, I love this new compressor, man. This is really lovely. This is the SPL Iron. This is actually a mastering compressor. So what I'm going to do is I have this little preset here called Master Mix Bass. So this is actually in MS mode, as you can see, mid and side. So what this is going to do is this really opens up the mix a little bit more. So what I do with this is I just add a tiny touch of this. Okay, so this is still at parallel. This is at 50%. Now I will want to unlink the parameters first, because what I want to do is I want to turn off the boost, all these the gain compensations. Okay, so let's turn this off. So this is by default, there's already a 2 dB. Now this one, I bring this down from 6 to 8. So because of the mid-side thing, right, it's a mid-side processor, this actually helps to bring the sides out a little bit more. And this is just going to be very subtle, a tiny touch. Less than a dB, just a hair. I don't know, man. It just does some kind of magic to just, you know, clear everything up. So I tend to add this only later, and then I will decide and see whether is it actually, you know, doing what I like it. So because sometimes it's not, sometimes it's kind of pushing everything a little bit too far. if I want something is a little bit more gelled and homogeneous kind of a mix. But here I just wanted, it gives a little bit of extra separation, especially all the material, the vocals in the middle, the drums, the kick, the snare is in the middle, but you have all the BVs and all the instruments that are at the side. Somehow everything just comes out a little bit more. And I will usually play around, right, with the parallel mix, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but most of the time, right, just leaving it at this already automatically sounds fantastic. Now it also has a little bit of some other tone control. So for example, you can see here, it's very small, I'm not sure you can see, this is air bass, so this adds a little bit of like an air, right, and bass kind of you know, a bit of sub frequency EQ lah, that kind of a smiley EQ thing, so you can always engage this. So let's see whether does it sound good or not. Now it's very risky, it's very dangerous to overdo it, because it might sound a little bit good, but I think it's making the top end sound a little bit too bright already, okay? So because that's what they do. So by default you got bypass, but it's also got, if you switch this switch down to a tape roll off, then you get more of a warmish, like a tape roll off at the high ends lah. So let's try this and see, maybe this would be. I like what this is doing though. It gives you a little bit of that warmer edge to it. So let's just leave it at tape roll off lah, okay? So it rolls off a tiny bit. Now, another thing which I want to add, this is something that was, again, that's taught to me, a tip that I picked up. This is using the API 560, the same graphic EQ, but this is just running the signal through it, okay? So this was something which I picked up from, I can't remember who, but he's from this mastering, he's a mastering engineer, so this was something which I learned from him, just to insert it. Now this does add a little bit of gain, right, a tiny touch of gain, maybe just about about 1 dB of gain, but it's actually doing a little bit more. It's actually making things a little bit more solid, you know, but somehow it's just something to do with it lah, so I insert it in. Let's disengage. Big difference. Lovely, okay? Awesome, okay? Really, really lovely. Now, last thing that I want to show you guys, right, before we wrap this baby up, okay? So another trick that's typically done, all right, just to create again dynamics, is to use the master bus, okay? Right. So this, in this case, my master fader, this is the stereo fader. I have this my workflow is arranged in this way before it actually goes to the real master. Again, I explained this in my Cubase project template video which I did. So what I'm going to do here, and this is a very, very old trick. So every time when we get to the chorus, I'm going to bump this stereo fader up by 1 dB. So let me show you how it goes, okay? Okay, here we go. Let's go to the stereo bus. There it is. Okay, so coming out of the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not sure whether you noticed this or not. So I do a little bit of a ramp up. So like 1 bar into the chorus, right? So let's do this. Ramp it up. So this is an old trick, man, that's really been done. So some people do 1.5 dB. I prefer to just do 1 dB because 1.5 sounds, to me, it sounds too obvious that somebody turned the volume up. But 1 dB is subtle enough so that it makes everything psychoacoustically sound bigger and sound better, right? So this is a very, very common trick that you can do, okay? So coming out the chorus, we'll do the opposite. We will bring it back down. Okay, just a little bit. This will be a much shorter kind of a ramp down to, there we go. Okay, so we just copy it over. Let's go to the next chorus. Okay, right here, 45. Let's copy it. Same thing. And for the last chorus, same thing as well. So it's a trick that you can do, right? So you can always automate your choruses so they sound this way. So for the last one, we just leave it up like that. Sweet. Right. So now, awesome. Now, this is pretty much for me. This is kind of like 80-85% right on the way. Now, usually after this, I will do a lot of fine tuning. Like I said, right, I'll be doing some fine tuning on the vocals. Now, automation, right, from every single word, every little line, I'll be doing a lot of fine tune automation. Okay, right. So once this is done, I usually, I'll let the mix rest for about a day. I'll come back again the next day, fine tune a little bit more, and then once it's ready, I'll send it over to Dedeq lah. Right. Then we do either a listening session, and then we'll come back and we make some tweaks here and there. Okay. So now, you guys have been super, super awesome, man. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping this up already. I really appreciate that you guys have been hanging out with me since like 9 o'clock. Right, for those who were here earlier, Dedeq is like, they hanged out with me since 9. It's already coming up to 1:20. So, as usual, right, I'm going to look through all the questions and all your chats. Sorry that I didn't really get to it because I was concentrating on mixing this. But I really, really appreciate you guys, man, for hanging out all this while. Now, stay tuned for the single, right? When the single is out, we'll be announcing it, right? Follow Dedeq on his social media. Again, go to the description, right? If you want to follow Dedeq on the social media, right, please do so. I really do encourage, okay? And again, I do consider, if you want to help support the channel out, right? And if you want to help support, please do head on down to the Patreon page. Check out the different tiers that are available on offer. See what's attractive to you lah. Okay, so there are different tiers from as low as $1 a month. Okay, which is like 4 ringgit a month. You can just subscribe for a month, and then if you decide to cancel after 1 month, you can do so lah. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Right, all the way to the direct access and VIP access tiers. Now for those, right, you get not only a tutorial, one-on-one tutorial sessions with me, okay? So we usually do it via Skype or Zoom or something like that. And you also get discount codes, man, so do check it out, okay? Oh, best of all, don't forget, right, if you sign up, right, and drop me a message using this code MixStream13, MixStream13, right, I will know that 50% of your pledge is going to go in support of the artist lah, okay? So remember, right, if you want to consider, do head on down to the Patreon page. Now, thank you so much for watching, guys, okay? I'm going to be signing it off right now. Now, if you found this video useful, informative, what I'm going to do later on is I'll edit out all the earlier parts. I'll put in all the timestamps, okay? Usually, I'll have all these timestamps so that if you want to jump to a certain topic, when I'm talking about, let's say, vocal thickening trick, you just click on it, it will jump to that timestamp, okay? All right, and again, I'll look through. If you have any questions which I missed out, I will look through it and answer them. All right, and last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, please leave a like. Do share this, okay, with your friends. We really appreciate it. Now, so what we're gonna do is let's listen to the track one last time from the top. Okay, and let's vibe to it. Okay, so this is Dedeq's brand new single, Mine. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, roll tape.
Casey. sayang aku di dalam dirimu. Katakanlah saja apa-apa maumu, dan pastinya akan ku bawa kamu. Kita bersama ke awan biru. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main, bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu, bukan main-main, bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Yeah, yeah, takkan main-main.
Shake a solo.
Aku takkan main-main. Aku takkan main-main. Aku bukan main-main. Lihat sayang ke mataku, rasaku untukmu bukan main-main. Ingin ku melamar hatimu untuk mencintamu, bukan main-main. Bila bersatu berdua, gelora asmara. Benar aku serius bila tentang kamu, aku takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Takkan main-main. Aku bukan main-main.
Okay, thank you guys. Good night, everyone. Stay safe, take care, alright? See you soon.